Yo, 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 sex, drugs, and rock and roll today. What's going on? This is Mike C. This is Tuned In Live Podcast. You are watching me live or listening to me live on twitch.tv/Arrow with a name. Also live over there on our YouTube channel, Arrow Entertainment. Be sure to hit that like, subscribe, and follow buttons. I'm also in the Discord if you guys are willing to hop in and chat along with me, and we talk about some a few minor issues today. I'm not issues, a few minor topics today. That is fine. You know, feel free to hop in. It's all good. So anyway, yeah, sex, drugs, rock and roll. That's what we're talking about today, along with a few other things. Digital media. I do have something that I pulled up. This is from the July 28th. This is something else we are going to be talking about today. But also, like I said, as you see in the title of our podcast today, or show today, going to Woodstock. Now, that's going to be in the latter half of the show, talking about Woodstock. It could be Woodstock 69 a little bit, but we're mostly going to focus on Woodstock 99, which is part of a generation. Right now, everybody here is listening, you know, everybody has been, you know, born in the 80s. Well, I guess I can. Sounds good. So anyway, I do want to start out by talking about digital media, of course. And when I'm talking about digital media, I mean movies that you buy online. Oh God, I forgot who that name was too. I don't know. We have somebody in the Discord. She's listening in. Clue something. I forgot what his name was. So the other day, there was a horror legend. Well, I don't know if you could say legend. Well, he starred in a shit ton of movies, and for what I understand, there was like over 150 acting credits to his name. His name was Clue Gallagher. This guy died. There's I see. Can you hear me? I don't know if you got your mic set up or not.
Yes, can you hear me?
There you are, loud and clear. Sounding really good.
How are you this morning?
I'm doing all right. I got the show going on. We're gonna be talking about a couple of things today. Any other topics as well, if you feel free to discuss. But yeah, you were asking about the gentleman I shared up at the top. His name is Clue Gallagher. He was in I seen it was like over 150 film credits to his name. He was 93 years old when he passed away. But yeah, yeah, I know. He was in a couple of movies that I've seen, horror movies, you know, like The Return of the Living Dead. There was another. Oh, he was in Nightmare on Elm Street 2, Freddy's Revenge. He played the father on there as well. I forgot he was in there. Yeah, he passed away.
He's one of those. Yeah, he's one of those people that I have seen in a lot of movies, but I just could never remember his damn name.
I know. I forgot what his name was. Well, I didn't really know what his name was. I just knew. I was like, oh yeah, that guy from Return of the Living Dead. I've seen him in like several movies. You know, that's like when you look at what was his name? John Saxon. John Saxton.
Oh yes.
Yeah, he passed away. I think 2-3 years ago. And some people don't remember what his name. Yeah, some people don't remember what his name was, but they remember seeing him in a lot of horror movies, especially Nightmare on Elm Street. And I'm like, yeah, he was in a lot of them. A lot of these horror legends, they're all dying off, and I'm like, that's us getting old right there, you know. Like, we see this younger generation of actors and actresses come up, and we don't even know.
And the movies aren't worth shit, to be honest. Well, some of them anyway.
Yeah, they still are. Like, there's still some good movies that are pretty entertaining. Like, I wouldn't say they're, well, they try to say they're Oscar worthy.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, you gotta love movies like that. Like these very subtle horror movies that have come out in the last few years, like The Witch, Hereditary, Midsommar, and
Yep.
oh my god, I watched these movies And not only are they long, and I mean like 2.5 hours long, but
Right.
they drag out gradually. They're like just bit by bit, and I'm just like, what's the horror in this? Like, I understand, it's got that settling mood of I can't describe it. It's the mood of the movie. It's horror enough, just like the mood and the setting of the movie. Like, get some people where it's got that creepy atmosphere and all, but like
Yeah.
with me, like I watch horror for a living. I love horror movies in general, and there's just like certain things that I don't know if it's something that I look for in a movie. Like some movies, I'll just sit there and I'll watch. Like, yeah, there's jump scares that may get at me sometimes, but I look for a good story, a good plot. I want it to all come into place. I want to be entertained. Like, even if I'm not scared, I just want to be entertained in general. That's like even some of these short movies you find on YouTube. And they're like short,
Right.
yeah, and they're well directed, they're well produced, and even if they're like 15 minutes long, they're creepy as hell. And there's one, I forgot the name of it. I got to share it in Discord sometime. I have it saved somewhere on YouTube, and it's about this guy. He's at home with his fiance or girlfriend or whoever it was, and his best friend comes over, and he drops off this box. And the guy, he said, "Oh, it's a gift for you guys. I'm passing it on to you." And he seems kind of suspicious about dropping it off, and then he's kind of like nervous about it. So the guy ends up opening the box. So his friend's like, "Oh yeah, I'm gonna head out of here. I'm going. I'll see you." Da da da. He's like, "Don't take your eyes off the box or whatever." And they're like, "Okay, what's going on with the box?" So he opens the box, and he takes it over to this table, and there's just nothing but this blackness. It's just all black. It's like a black hole. And he throws a pencil in the box, and it just disappears. Like, you don't hear any, you don't hear the pencil drop or anything. And the girlfriend comes over, she's like, "What's wrong?" And he's talking about the box. So this pen comes rolling out, and he bends down to pick it up, and then he stands up, and he looks at the box, and then this top of this head is sticking out of the box looking at him.
Right.
And it's like, at first you find it hilarious. It's like, oh, is this random guy? You just see his head just sticking out of the box, just staring at him. And then every time they look away from the box and they turn back, like his hands will be out there. Like it's like he's getting closer and closer to you every time you take your eyes off the box. And it just like, it gets more and more intense as the film goes on. And I look at something like this and I'm like, yeah, this is the kind of horror that would get you, have your hairs on the back of your neck stand, that kind of thing. That's
Right.
the little subtle things I like about horror, just little things like that. And I grow up on horror. I was like, I tell my fiance, like, I know our kids that, they like watching horror. My daughter, she loves watching It. That's her favorite horror movie is It. As graphic as as graphic as the new one is, and she loves it. And I tell people all the time, I was like, I was 5 years old when I was watching Hellraiser.
But Hellraiser is one of those film franchises that started out with the very first few films were just they were entertaining as well as horrifying. The Cenobites scared the shit out of me in the earlier ones.
Oh, I bet.
And it was one of those that once new hands got onto it and stuff, they kind of fucked up the later films.
They did. And Clive Barker, he was upset. He wasn't too thrilled with how,
understandably.
yeah, he wasn't too thrilled with how the franchise went down, after Bloodline, which I want to say it's kind of underrated in a way, because every new Hellraiser movie that has come out, and they're like, this is the next terrifying chapter in the Hellraiser franchise, and I'm like,
right.
Each new chapter, like after Bloodline, it just got kind of redundant and boring, and it was, you had more focus on Pinhead, of course.
Right.
And but the stories were all kind of tongue in cheek. You know, what was it? You had the cheating detective cheating on his wife, and then yeah,
Yeah.
and then the next one you had the guy who was you learn about it later on. He was I think he was engaged to Kirsty from the first two movies. She comes back, and
Yes.
he's living with all this grief, and he don't know what the hell's going on around him. All this weird shit starts going on around him, and then you find out that, you know, when Kirsty died in that in a car wreck that he caused. And of course, you know, she meets up with Pinhead and she makes him a deal, and it's like, well, I'm going to bring you X amount of souls for the return of mine. You know, they made that kind of deal. And then Hellseeker, which was it was about a gothic group of people getting together that are like, oh, we are death, we welcome death, that kind of thing. And you know,
Jesus.
Pinhead comes in the end, he's like, the fuck you say. He teaches them all a lesson. And Hellworld, you know, it's basically, you know, because everybody was getting into, you know, the cyber world, the internet, you know, it was something that was consuming everybody, that kind of thing. So it's like, oh, we will invite you through this website to come join our party, and these people are already dead, but they don't know it till the end.
Oh my goodness.
And it's just like the stories are just so weak. And I think what held them up was, you know, Doug Bradley playing Pinhead, because he done it so well. He's been in a great amount of horror movies himself. You know, he was in even one
Right.
of the Wrong Turn movies. I only watched the first one. I'm not even going to get into the other ones. They're pretty much like Saw series at this point. It's all about the gore factor.
Right. Right. And to be honest with you, I kind of liken Hellraiser to the Fast and Furious of horror.
Yes, exactly.
And as far as Pennywise goes, now um, Pennywise is one of those characters that they were kind of able to bring back successfully,
Yes.
um, because Pennywise is old school. That's when they came out with it back in 2017. That was literally the I thought it was great.
It was. It
Not
definitely was.
not quite as I would have liked a little bit more. Um, I'm guessing at the end with what happens, to the um, kids, but at least like a little, you know, what happens to them after the whole Pennywise thing. It just kind of the ending was a little abrupt for me. Is basically what I'm saying.
Yeah.
But Pennywise is one of those characters they were able to bring back successfully, and now they've got Pennywise Funko Pops.
Yes. He's just so popular with the kids. When it when it
Right.
when it came to it, like I forgot who directed it. They were trying to bring back some of the classic Stephen King movies that worked real well
Yes.
back in the day, like Pet Cemetery. Pet Cemetery still holds up very well to this day, and that came out in the
Yeah.
late '80s. And that was, I think, even Stephen King said that was one of the books that he's wrote that scared the living hell out of him too. And
Right.
the movie did so well. Like, you know, I showed it to this woman I used to work with, and she was terrified of it. You know, she was like, "Oh man, that ending just fucked me over." And
Right.
they redid it, and I don't know if it's the fact that they redid it in a sense to where it's more close to the book. And
Right.
I was like, I don't know how I feel about this. You know, like the original was, you know, it did it justice, but watching the new one, it had its subtle differences, but it still was pretty hard hitting in a sense. It may not have been as terrifying, but it still had a good driven story to it, and I really did enjoy it. Especially like the ending was just like, what's going to happen next, and then it cuts off just like the original does. So
Right.
that one did really good, but that one came out after It Chapter One. With it,
Right.
when it came out in 1990, it was a TV miniseries, of course. You know, it was 3-4 hours long. and they did the whole story. They did the children's aspect of the story, they did the adults, and even today, like, some people will say, you know what, the latter half of that movie was just kind of drug out. Like, everybody was more into the children's story because you got this thing that, even though it embodies the figure of a clown, which, growing up, a lot of people are afraid of clowns for whatever reason, and a lot of people,
myself for one.
yeah, and a lot of people go back to Pennywise. They're like, that motherfucker was terrible. He was real horrible. It was like, well, he is the embodiment of what people fear when they're children. A lot of children fear clowns, and
Yep.
but he was a different great sources. He was like a spider. He was a werewolf at one point. Like, even if you look into the lore of the Deadlights and other things, a lot of Stephen King's novels, they all kind of share, or at least most of them kind of share the same universe. And there's a book out there that there was a movie that just came out 5-6 years ago. I think it had Idris Elba in it. It was a Stephen King adaptation. It wasn't really horror, but that story kind of wraps around with the multiverse of all of that goes on. So,
Right.
Pennywise,
I know exactly what you're talking about.
yeah, and Pennywise is just just the tip of the iceberg with that. So
Right.
when they remade it, and I was like, how are they going to do this? And they were talking about It Chapter 1, and they were just going to focus on the kids aspect of it, which did very well. And
Yes.
and they added a lot more detail from the books to the movies, with a few little exceptions, like coming in Chapter 2, of course. But the first chapter,
Right.
it was just, I was just mesmerized by it. Like, I went to the theaters to see it, with friends of mine at the time, and just that first scene alone with Georgie and seeing his arm getting bit off, and this is an R-rated movie, where kids are going to die. And I'm like, God damn, they didn't hold back from this.
Yeah.
like even the garage scene where they're sitting there looking at these projections. Yeah. And then that motherfucker pops out of nowhere.
Oh God.
I looked at my friend. I was like, imagine if this shit was in 3D. And he was like, fuck you.
Oh God. I'd be out of that damn theater so quick.
Oh my God. It was just phenomenal seeing it, and especially the way it ended and all. And I was like, okay, I can't wait for Chapter 2. So there was one scene, I think they were kind of on the line about adding to the movie, and it's in the book. And this is where they were stuck in the sewers, and they were trying to find their way out of the sewer system, after they defeated him the first time.
Yes.
And they all kind of got like sexualized by Bevy down there, and they'd all, I think in the book they were all taking turns having sex or having like a group orgy with Beverly, which I guess kind of helped them find their way out of the sewer. I don't know. I mean,
Right.
I didn't know fucking could help you guide your way anywhere. But they were on the fence about that, and they were like, "Yeah, we're glad we didn't add that, to it, because
that would have landed him into a lot of shit."
Oh my God, especially today with the way pedophiles, roam the streets, and they're trying to protect them and shit, But
one movie that I hope they do not touch that is a Stephen King novel is Dolores Claiborne.
Yeah, because I know they were talking about doing Christine at one point, but I'm like, certain movies shouldn't be touched, and then I look at certain other movies, and I'm like, how do you plan on making it just as good or even better than what its predecessor was? Like with us talking about Stephen King, like, okay, Pet Sematary, movie wise, I'd still prefer the original, but the remake was good. Whereas with, the miniseries, it still is terrifying to quite a few people, with how they put it together, and everybody still says, what's his name, Tim Curry, still played a pretty good role. Which he did, he is a phenomenal actor. Sadly, he's unable to act anymore. I think he had a stroke or something a few years ago, so he hasn't been acting at all. But he was a phenomenal actor back in the day. But then you got Bill Skarsgård. He even said, "How do I fill his shoes? How can I match up to his level?" And it's like, you just don't have to. Just do the part.
Be yourself.
Exactly. And he did a really good job too. Like even scaring the hell out of the production crew, scaring the hell out of the kids. Because I think what it was, I think they said the kids were not allowed to meet him in between takes up until they did their scene, so they could get a genuine, real scare factor. Yeah, exactly. And that did it right there. And then Chapter 2 came out, and I know Hagee was talking about it quite a few times, where he said, Chapter 2, it's a second part, it doesn't really hit as hard, which, of course, because it doesn't have that original fear factor of the first one, which I think is because the first one focused on kids. You don't want to see anything happen to somebody, at an adolescent age, whereas with adults, the adults, they're more smarter, they know how to take care of situations and shit like that, but it still had a good amount of, I guess, scares to it in a sense. And a lot of the scenes, especially when the group is breaking up to go find this and this and that was in the book as well, because I read up on it. It's like, okay, this part was in the book, that part was in the book, which is good. They're taking source material from the original content and putting into the movies, and that's what a lot of fans were, that's what they like. They like to see it following closely with the original source. And then what didn't get a lot of people, of course, in the days of LBGT and all that bullshit, is, there was a couple, a couple gay kids, couple gay teenagers, or whoever it was.
Why y'all have to put all that bullshit in there? Like, come on. Do we really need that as part of the storyline? Do we really need to know that these kids are gay? Do we have to focus on that bullshit? Like, come on.
Exactly.
Now, don't get me wrong. I have no problem with the Alphabet Mafia, but I don't think it needs to be the main focus of every single production, be it music, movies, television series. I don't think that needs to be a focus, because gay people, and God, I hope I say this correctly, gay people are not that much more special than heterosexual, asexual, bisexual, whatever people. They go through shit every day like we do.
Exactly. Like nobody else is nobody's perfect. Nobody else is even more special than the next one. We're all human beings. We all share, we all bleed the same. Why should a particular group, have more attention than anybody else? Like if you look at, okay, I'm not down with the whole BLM. I think like with BLM and LBGT, they're just agendas. They're just groups to push agendas, liberal agendas, for some liberal reason.
Now, BLM is one of those things, like, in the beginning, when it was just a small group of people just wanting, equality and the same rights, because let's be honest, the American justice system is fucked, and that's for anybody.
Oh yeah.
But when you get, and I hate to say it, these white liberals, they just have to be white saviors. They have to hijack shit.
Yep.
And then they got to throw fucking Jesse Jackson, and they got to throw Al Sharpton, which, if anybody's listening, black people do not like either one of them. We all think they're both clowns.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the sad thing. It's like, like you said, white liberals. Yeah, I see like more white people out there that are chanting, yeah. And they're like, we want equality for black people. We want equality for black people. Like, do you not understand how racist you sound right there?
Right. But see, when they start on that whole, oh well, I'm an ally for black people, da da da, but they'll turn around, and if a black person is like, hey, you know, why don't I just take a couple minutes to kind of educate you on XYZ?
Mm-hmm.
That way, we just want people to be knowledgeable, not ignorant. But
Exactly.
white liberals can be very ignorant because they have their own. They're trying to make themselves look good. It's not even about us.
Mm-hmm.
They want themselves to look good. Oh yeah, I'm doing this for the black people. See, you sound ignorant there.
Exactly. And every time you try to prove them wrong, then you always get that.
Oh, you're racist.
Yep.
You're racist. You're
Mm-hmm.
racist.
Exactly. That's why
They have
I just look at those people like I'm like, yeah, I know I'm white and they're white. I just look at them and I'm like, you all just you're a fucking joke. Like you're the kind of people that don't study history properly. That's why like
they don't.
they're not being taught proper history in schools. It's like I had a buddy. His wife at the time worked at a place where I was working at. He's black too, but
Right.
we I always loved sitting there with him. We would talk about heritage and history and all. And he would tell me about a lot about black history and be like, yeah, you even he was one of the ones. He's like, did you know that one of the first slave owners was a black guy? I was like, shit,
Where did you get that stupid shit from?
I know. It's like you're not going to get it off the internet because the internet is controlled by these liberals. It's controlled by liberalism and all. They want you
Mm-hmm.
to learn a particular agenda. Where I'm just telling
Yep.
people, and I was telling my fiance's niece, I was like, if you want to learn more about this type of history, you go to a library. Go to a library that has this shit on
Yeah.
file. Don't rely on the internet. The internet is full of lies, and that's what like people like me and Haggy and a whole bunch of others have been telling people. It's like, don't believe anything you see
Yeah.
on the internet.
Exactly. And also, if you want to know something too, especially about Black history, you ask a Black person, specifically someone who has lived through the Civil Rights Movement, stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
My dad fought for the Vietnam War. When he came back home, they were literally in the middle of spraying people with water hoses and setting dogs on them.
Yep.
Those are the people you need to ask, not some green haired liberal fuck that's like, oh, well, they are the most downtrodden people in history. We do not want to be known as the most downtrodden people in on the history of this planet
Yeah.
because we have made advances. We have made such strides in America. We have invented things. We have contributed to the growth of America, not just through slavery. Everything ain't always about fucking slavery. That is not our identity.
Exactly.
Do not throw that on us. Oh well, black people were slaves back then. You should no. We were also in Africa and other majority, quote unquote black areas. We were also doctors, princes, scholars, etc. We didn't just come over here and all of a sudden lose our identity. We were just known as the slaves people. And they want to throw in, oh well, only black people were slaves. No, there were white slaves as well.
Mm-hmm.
Granted, they had white skin, they were called something different, indentured servants, still slaves nonetheless.
Yep.
They threw them out there, with us in the fields, and we were just all out there together as slaves. Did you know that at a certain point in time in this country's history, Irish people were not considered white?
Yeah, I heard something about that.
Irish were like Italians, and I married an Italian, and he'll tell you real quick. Um, there used to be signs up: no blacks, no dogs, no Irish, no Italians need apply, or you know stuff like that. And then you get these, once again, liberals. They find out they have a tiny bit of Irish ancestry, and oh, here you go. Um, they're just so Irish now. Like stupid. You don't even know the history of the Irish, let alone anybody. You just see some shit on the internet, some fake woke shit,
Mm-hmm.
and now you just want to be. You have literally no identity, and it's sad.
Oh no.
And these large media companies hire these damn people, and they have changed the direction of television as we know it.
Yeah, and it's
Not
sad.
even just movies, television.
It is like even going back around full circle. Like we were talking about going back to the movie It Chapter 2 with
Yes.
a lot of the LBGT, throwing a lot of hate out there because, oh, you killed off gay people in this movie. Look at
Oh my god.
Halloween Kills, the most recent Halloween movie. There's a scene where this gay couple has moved into the Myers house, and all this motherfucker's trying to do is get home. He wants to be home. And
Right.
he kills these motherfuckers off in style. And I'm just sitting there laughing. Like, that night it came out. Haggy was watching it at the same time, and we're sitting there, texting back and forth and shit about it. And we were laughing about it. I was like, dude, this motherfucker killed off a couple gay guys. And people are going
Right.
nuts over it. It's like,
Michael Myers killed anybody that crossed in front of him. How the fuck are they gonna make a big deal about them killing gay guys? Like,
exactly.
they gotta realize how stupid they.
Yeah, that's like the joke that has always been a joke for the last 40 years, like, and you don't see black people complaining about, oh, in a horror movie, the first one to go is a black guy. Like, technically,
Right. I mean, we make about it, but we don't cry. Sit there, cry. Let's boycott them. They killed us off in every single horror movie. No, we make jokes about the shit like the shit is hilarious.
it
Too.
is. It really is. There's a movie that came out last year. I don't know if you've seen it. It's called Karen. Oh my
Oh
god.
God, what the fuck? What is that nonsense? Like,
And
come on.
it's just like it's mocking the whole thing, the whole ideal of Karen, and it's not really like a horror movie. It's like a thriller in a way. It's about
Right.
this black couple. I think they were actually an African couple, and they had just moved into this neighborhood, and of course their neighbor is this woman. Her name is Karen. She's all nice and this and that, and she's all, for trying to make them feel comfortable and everything. And then, like, shit starts going downhill, and it's all caused by her, of course. Karen, she's causing all this trouble for these new neighbors. And this is just, like, just so much in this movie. Like, I couldn't remember a whole bunch of it because I'm just sitting there just, like, tongue-in-cheek laughing about this movie. I'm like, they seriously just made a movie about the whole democratic the whole democratic thing of the Karen,
Right.
and I can't remember if we watched it for free or if my fiance was like, fuck it, we'll just rent it for like $4 and see how bad it is. And
Oh gosh.
we watched it.
And Karen is one of those things that they have just completely ruined that name, just putting labels on shit. America
Yeah.
is into labeling shit.
That's
And
all it
see,
is.
those types of people have always existed. Black, white, Asian, etc., etc. They exist every damn where. But
Mm-hmm.
they want to focus and record these particular this particular trope of women and just be like, oh, she's a Karen, she's a Karen, whatever, whatever.
Exactly.
Listen, it's not that deep. You can go anywhere in the United States and find a Karen.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
If we will really want to be real about it, like you can find those anywhere.
They literally, I don't know if you watch South Park.
Oh, I love South Park.
On Paramount Plus, they got the Streaming Wars part 1 and 2, and Randy Marsh is labeled as a Karen in there.
Oh God, I saw that.
And he's like, why does everybody keep calling me Karen? Just the way he's acting and shit. And then at the end of this, like, part 2, like, he's just like, the whole second part, it's like he returned back to his original self from like way
Yes.
back when, and then shit starts going downhill, and they're all like, "We need you, Karen. We need you. Take this weed." And he starts smoking this heavy fucking shit, and then he comes out of the barn with the wig and everything.
Oh, I saw that one.
He drives down to the fucking theme park. He's like, "Get me your manager."
The sunglasses, the hairstyle, all of that.
I'm just glad that the two guys that do that cartoon, they could take what everything that's going on in reality and just twist it
Yes.
and make a parody of it, whether
Yes.
whether or not people get offended by it or whatever. It's like fuck
And
you.
South Park, I love them because they made fun of everybody.
Oh, definitely.
Remember the whole "they took our jobs"?
Yes.
You know.
Like the show covers everything from racism to socialism to
Yep.
politics and everything, and they do
Yes.
it. They parodied it, but they do it so well.
Yes.
It's like looking at a cartoon like that and how it mocks reality and it takes our focus off of it to where we could just enjoy it. That's like
Right.
growing up for anybody, like if you watched movies from like the 50s, horror movies in general, there's right now it's a 2-part documentary out there. It's kind of hard to find unless you buy it online or you find it streaming somewhere online. It's called In Search of Darkness. Now, there's 2 parts of it. They're working on the 3rd part. Each documentary, I shit you not, is like 5 or 6 hours long. And they
Right.
focus on horror movies of the 80s. And while they're talking about like different horror movies and different subgenres of the horror genre, they talk about like, horror movies in general are kind of a reflection of what's going on in life. And, like the different horrors, the different
Right.
things that we're dealing with, whether it's war, politics, racism, socialism, anything of that nature. Horror
Right.
movies are it's a reflection of it, and it's something that people can just sit and enjoy. And I forgot how they worded it, but it's entertainment. The entertainment world is just something. It's a whole other reality where it's just something you just pay attention to. You focus on it. It takes your mind off of
Right.
what's going on in your life. You got a job that you hate. Maybe you're going through relationships, bad relationships, friendships. Maybe the world sucks. Like right now, fucking inflation, Biden,
Oh, God.
war, everything.
Completely bad. Oh, don't even get me started on him.
I know. It's just like anything of that nature right now. If you like, I know right now the horror movie genre is kind of like staling out because they pretty much done everything possible out there and they just focus on certain things. But if you had something brand new and fresh, like let's say Freddy Krueger never existed and they
Right.
decided to bring him into, it's like, okay, this is something new that we can get into. It's just takes my mind off of everything. But they say that a horror movie is a complete reflection or projection off of what's going on. Same thing with music. Music,
Right.
people will tell you like certain music has gotten them through certain years of their life. Like in my generation, I'm 36 years old, and going back to like my high school years, we're growing up on fucking music like Korn, Limp Bizkit, Linkin Park,
Oh,
Sublime, all that stuff. And a lot of that music is something that resonates off of us. We use that not as like a weapon, but it's like it's almost like the music speaks to you and how you feel. Like I hear about a lot of my friends that I went to school with that were real dark and into drugs and shit, and I didn't even know.
Yeah.
You wouldn't even know. Like they were drinking and they were doing drugs. Like they had parent problems at home and shit.
Yep.
And back then, like if suicide was still a thing, it's not as bad as it is now, maybe, but
Right.
there's you had suicide, you had school shootings, bullying was real bad, but
Right.
to some people, they turn to, let's say, music, and it
Yeah.
resonates with them. Like there's somebody else out there that feels your pain, and they're with you. They're singing it through the music. They know what you're going through, and people take that and they're like, oh my god, this is me. This is how I
Right.
feel. Like I would take a song like Stain's song, For You, from their
Right.
their second album. What was it, Beyond the Cycle or something? I forgot what it's called, but just watching the video and listening to the lyrics, it's like, this is how we were growing up. A lot of kids, like, you want to get your voice out there, and your parents aren't listening to you, and you're like, hello, can you hear me? Da 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 da.
Yep.
That kind of thing. Music is a reflection off of how we were growing up, whereas
Yeah.
movies also is a reflection, is a projection of what's going on in real life. So we use that not as a trigger mechanism, but it's something that helps out. Like I tell my fiance all the time, yeah, I suffer from depression. I don't
Right.
take medication. I don't want to poison my body with a pill to make me smile and feel cheery, throughout the day. I'm like, no, I get depressed. People get sad. People get depressed about anything, and I can use anything to help me feel better. Video games. People shit talk on video games a whole lot. Video games.
Oh,
You're wasting your life away on video games. Like, do you guys not realize how video games help people get through the day? How it helps them out in life? It's more.
Yeah.
It's more than just motor skills and using your hands and shit and figuring out puzzles and stuff like that. It's like, it's interaction. It's something that takes your
Right.
mind off of what's going on in your reality. It's entertainment. It's interaction, and more than there's like, back in the day, video games were more targeted toward kids, but now today you got adults into their 50s and 60s that are playing video games. They're interacting with
Yeah.
something, and it's an amazing thing. Like the gaming industry is well up there along with the cinema, the movies,
Right.
and they're selling really well. And there's people that don't understand that, and I'm like, well, you just got to look at the demographic of it. Like, when you sit there and say video game violence causes actual violence in real life, and
my
I'm like, where's your studies at? They tried to conduct these studies, but you're not going to be able to prove that, okay, me playing Grand Theft Auto, it's going to cause me to go out there and be like, okay, I'm going to try to steal this guy's car, hot wire it, drive it around, and go on a police chase. That sounds like fun. Like, yeah.
Or shoot a hooker.
Exactly. Like, I know what the consequences are. I'm not about to spend 20 years in jail after playing a video game. That's like back in the days of Columbine, where
Yes.
they wanted to blame everything for that, and Doom was one of the biggest video games that have come out on PC, and everybody was playing it, and they said, well, these two guys, and I've read up on it, these two guys, they were two sick fucks. They were completely fucked in the head. They're using this video game schematics and shit, like, okay, we're going to use this as a simulator of how we're going to go in and do this, do that,
Right. Right.
And when they want to blame that, and it's like, well, video games are still out there. They still exist. Like, how can you take a video game and say, oh, well, this was used in the... Like, no, these were just two sick fucks. They knew what they were doing.
Mm-hmm.
They had access to the ammunition. They had access to the weapons. They knew what they were doing. Just like they were trying to blame Marilyn Manson.
Mm-hmm.
They listened to Marilyn Manson. Marilyn Manson's telling them to go shoot up a school. I'm like, if you sit and listen to his content, it's like, there's no subliminal messages there. Like, this is the kind of music we grew up on. Like, yeah, some of the stuff is dark and gritty, like shit for anybody who's ever listened to ICP.
Oh, God.
Listen to that shit. Like I've never listened to him. I'm not a fan of him, but listen, to something like that, just like okay, NWA, fuck the
Yes,
police. People, all the police departments and everything. They hate it when they came up with that song, but it's a projection off of how black people were being treated back then by police
yes,
officers. Being
yes,
profiled. Yeah,
yes.
and that's something that they don't like to show out there. It's like, oh, well, this is a lie. This is a lie. Like, well, this is what was happening.
And do you know who's really listening to "Fuck the Police"? People who have gotten pissed off from getting a ticket. That's the majority of
I know.
it.
Oh, that is a sad demographic right there. It's like they really don't understand the meaning behind what these guys are saying.
Right.
Look, the whole. I think back then I can't remember if it was around the time or if it happened after that. The whole issue with Rodney King.
Oh yes,
What?
it happened. Rodney King. It was the beating of Rodney King and the killing of a young 15-year-old girl. I don't know if you remember, over a bottle of orange juice in this Korean lady's store. Those two events sparked the '92 riots.
Yeah, yeah, I vaguely remember hearing about that. Yeah, it's a sad thing. Like it still goes on to this day. And people want to, chant out, racism still exists. It still exists. Like, well, it exists because certain people continue to make it exist. Like, going back to what you were saying about, white liberals, they keep
Yes.
racism going. Even Morgan Freeman, like, I still put it out there to this day. I tell people, like, Morgan Freeman said it best. I forgot who was interviewing him. He's like, you want racism to end? Stop talking about it. Stop bringing it up.
Yes.
I don't want you to call me a black man, and I don't want to refer to you as a white man. You're such and such, and I'm Morgan Freeman.
Right.
And they were even mentioning in there, Morgan Freeman was like, because they were talking about having Black History Month in February. And
Right.
I think, he said it best. I think he said something about how, every day is Black History. We shouldn't be labeled to just one month.
Yes.
And he asked the guy,
Yes.
do you want a White History Month? He said, he kind of laughed, but he's like, nah, not really. It's like, okay, every day is Black History. You shouldn't, just like with June, this whole thing of, oh, June is Gay Pride Month. I'm like, can't
Oh God.
you guys celebrate, being gay every single day? Like, why does it have to be one
Right.
particular month?
Right. Now, Juneteenth is one of those things that I can kind of let that slide because it is a celebration of, the emancipation of slaves.
Yeah,
I can get behind that one, but it's like, why limit a whole group of people's, advancements, cultures, whatever, to one goddamn month?
yeah. And it's been like that for, God, I don't even know how long. What, 30, 40 years, something like that, I want to say, maybe. I mean, I remember, like, I can't even remember if it was, like, started around middle school or if it's been longer than that. They was talking about Black History Month.
Right.
I'm like, why can't we celebrate? Why can't we celebrate every year? Why can't you learn about Frederick Douglass every year? Why can't you talk about Martin Luther King or Harriet Tubman every year? Why
Right.
wait? Why come around and wait till February? It's like that's the problem with kids today. They don't know about these people. Like they'll sit there and they'll say, "Oh, our ancestors used to be slaves." I'm like, "Well, do you know the whole history behind it?" Because everybody just wants to sit there and just use that as their demeanor. Is like, we were slaves at one point, this and this and
I
that.
tell these damn kids all the time, you're limiting yourself.
Yep.
We weren't just damn fucking slaves. Like, come on.
Mm-hmm.
You're insulting yourself. You're doing yourself a disservice. Look into all of the things that we have done in this country besides being damn slaves. the whole slave shit has gotten old. And even my mom says it. She's like, if they come out with another damn slave movie, I'm gonna scream. I want to see something about the guy who came up with all these different uses for peanuts, George Washington Carver.
Yeah.
I want to see something about the guy who invented portable air conditioners,
Mm-hmm.
the guy who invented video games, cell phones, super soakers, all that shit.
Exactly. Anything that we use in today's technology, that's the kind of people that you'd be interested in learning about. Just like,
Right.
they want to talk about, say, like Jesse Jackson or Reverend Al Sharpton. I'm like, okay, what good are they doing for your community now compared to
They
what?
don't do a motherfuck thing.
Exactly. Like, I would love to sit there and tell the youths of today and be like, okay, I want you to compare to me what these two hypocrites do for you compared to
Yes.
what Martin Luther King did for your ancestors, for your parents and your grandparents back in the 60s.
Yes.
And,
Yes.
and I guarantee you they haven't learned a bit about it. They haven't looked up any kind of information, any history at all on it.
Right.
It's all hypocritical now. They just want to
Right.
base off of hearsay and like, oh well, the internet said. Like, well, the internet can be tweaked and used as a
And
weapon.
edited to hell. Yes.
Mm-hmm. Same thing with the mainstream media. I don't watch any local
Oh
news.
God.
Yeah, I don't watch the news at all. I don't follow it online unless it's certain things that I follow, maybe. But when it comes to like, oh, COVID, monkeypox, COVID, I'm like, I just sit there and I just glance at it and laugh and then move on. I'm like, I ain't got time for stupid
Right.
bullshit, you know?
Right. And I don't like when people panic about the whole monkeypox thing. Like, first of all, there has always been a vaccination out for monkeypox. Just
Yeah.
just go get the monkeypox vaccination. Like, stop acting stupid for nothing. But see, it's this damn mainstream media that causes people to, especially the most, I don't want to say stupid, but well, yeah, the most stupid to be dumb, panicky animals.
Mm-hmm. And that causes all kind of chaos and pandemonium. That's what they want. Right now, they're kind of in a calm, but they're kind of still causing that. It's like, oh, it's the midterms, and oh, look, gas prices are going to come down. They're slowly coming down. Yeah, you're controlling that, and then when you get what you want, they just shoot right back on up. And then
Exactly.
I was in a Walgreens last night getting something, and I was looking at this issue of the National Enquirer. And I never really follow tabloids because some of them can seem kind of ridiculous in a way. But one of the top,
Oh gosh.
one of the top topics on there was COVID's getting worse. The shots don't work, and I'm like,
Oh.
you think so? you put fucking poison in our bodies, and then you want to sit there and say the shots don't work? Duh. What?
Jesus Christ.
That's like, why do you think I don't get the fucking flu shot? Like, if I get the flu, I know what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna lay my ass at home in bed, watch fucking Bob Barker, and eat fucking chicken noodles.
Exactly. Yes.
Like, I'm not gonna
Yes.
go out there and get some fucking shot in me that may have something that, oh well, this is a tiny microchip that Bill Gates just invented, but you're not gonna know. It's gonna go into a needle. That's all it ever is. Shit. This is why we have our escape from this reality. That's why movies
Yeah.
were invented. That's why music was a
Yes.
thing. Oh shit. But yeah, moving into movies though. Now, when you view movies, do you buy them digital? Do you buy them physical?
Um, I buy them digital.
Okay. I'm kind of the same way a little bit because I feel like, I'm too lazy to go out to the store and buy it on DVD.
My problem with buying, but my problem with buying movies digital.
Mm-hmm.
Back when we had Blockbuster, I loved Blockbuster. Then stupid ass Netflix came along
Yep.
and blew Blockbuster out of the water. But now a lot of people like myself are wishing for Blockbuster back because now Netflix won't even let you share your password. They don't. They're going up on their prices steadily. Oh, hey, we just wanted to let you know we're going up on our prices just a little bit, but it you won't notice it. Continue to enjoy all your streaming movies and TV shows, blah blah blah, whatever.
Mm-hmm. Oh, there's quite a bit to that with what you all just said right there. So, Blockbuster, there's a movie out there you ought to check out. It's called The Last Blockbuster.
Yes,
And it's about the very last Blockbuster that's out there in Oregon. And they talk about the history of Blockbuster. They pretty much committed financial suicide, which is what their downfall was, because they were trying to keep up with the competition of Redbox and Netflix.
yep,
They were trying to go with the movies by mail, that kind of thing. I think what it was when they did away with late fees, which the movie
yes,
explains, when they did away with late fees, that was one of the last things that kind of killed them right there. Like, that's like, I look at the libraries in my area when they took out these security gates that go off whenever you're walking out with products. So I'm like, what are y'all gonna do if somebody steals shit out of here? It's like, it's a loss. We'll get more. Like, if you got the funds for it, because you got movies that are out there on a shelf, and people are coming in here, they're stealing the fucking shit, and you ain't got something that
yep,
it's some of these places, they try, but they don't think it through. And that's what
exactly.
that's what happened with Blockbuster. They committed financial suicide when they made that. When they did that, and I'm just like, yeah, that's what a lot of places are going down. That's why they're going downhill.
Yes,
With Netflix, I think they got a lot of backlash with the password sharing, because they know, you got a family that has, it's something they got to understand. A lot of families have more than one television in their home now. It's not like it's not like it was back in the 1960s and the 70s, where
right,
you have the one television in the living room and everybody crowds around it. Everybody's got a fucking TV. Like, case in point, a couple weekends ago, we went to PA for a vacation. I was up in Haggie's neck of the woods, and the suite that we had up there at the motel, we had a nice big suite. The master bedroom had a 75-inch TV on the wall. The living room area had a 75-inch on the wall. They were all smart TVs too.
wow,
Next to the dining room area behind the living room was where the kids slept. There's 2 sets of bunk beds. That's 4 beds. Each bed had a fucking TV. Each bed had a small fucking TV. It's like everybody's watching something, So
right,
your standard home right now, let's say mother, father, let's say everybody's got at least 3 kids. Let's say 3 kids. Everybody has like one TV. That's 5 TVs, or maybe 4 TV. Who knows? You got a TV in the living room. Each bedroom may have a TV to itself. So each TV is going to have Netflix on it now. So you telling me like you're going to have one Netflix account and you can't put it on all these TVs because we don't want password sharing. We want to be able to, people to sign up. I'm like, it's corporate greed right there. That's all it is. It's corporate greed. They don't want you sharing your information because maybe you want to share it with your neighbor. You're good with your neighbor, and they're like, oh no, we want them to pay for a subscription service. It's like, yeah, well, this is where you're going to start losing your revenue. This is where you're going to start losing people. So now they're talking about
people are going to be like, fuck you and fuck your non-password sharing shit.
Exactly. I think from what I've read recently, they want to start like a family pack or something like that, where you can you can share a password, but I think it's going to be like a cheap plan, and it's going to have commercials. They're going to be playing ads. I'm like, you're joining in with the rest of. Well, I think Netflix already has a plan where you do have ads. I think they do. I can't remember. Because we usually go with like the cheapest that we can. Like, I don't mind watching ads, because
that's Hulu.
Yeah, I do have Hulu there. Funny story about Hulu. I came across this app last year where I forgot where I found. I think it was on Facebook, but it takes you to different places where you can get really good deals on things. And there was a deal for Hulu where I can get Hulu for 12 months for $1.99 a month. And I took it up on an offer. I went on, I paid for it, and sure enough, each month I'm getting Hulu for $1.99 a month up until December, I think it is. Even though there are ads and all, but I'm like, you know what? There's shit on there we watch, so whatever. And then of course I pay, I think $9.99 or something I think it's $8.99 for Paramount Plus, which has the ads. And I'm like, I don't care. We watch it. And my fiance, she has Amazon Prime, so she watches a lot of that. And of course, we do Netflix. There are some things on Netflix that we do watch. But other than that, like if I'm sitting at work or somewhere and I don't feel like buying a movie, I don't feel like searching through Netflix or whatever to find a movie I want to watch, I have an app, and there's several of them you can find on your phone. Mine's called Wad. I think it's called Wadfix. I think it's called. And you can find any TV show and movie, if it's digital, you can find it on there. It's called Wadfix. And I pay $2.99 a week to get rid of the ads on there, because there's like too many ads that pop up. So I'm like, it's $3 a week. I get paid every week, so it doesn't really bother me at all. So I'll find anything on there to watch, and I'll do it at work. I got somebody knocking at my door. I'm gonna go ahead and go to commercial real quick. I don't know if you want to step away, get yourself something to drink or whatnot.
Okay.
All right, I'll message in the Discord, let you know when I'm back.
Okay, no problem.
All right, we'll see you guys in a bit.
Go for 3 delicious shrimp, batter-dipped fish, all just $1.99. And don't forget to add a piece.
We need experienced, endorsed judges like Judge Young.
I think that the voter and the general public deserves nothing less than the best effort that I can give. And that's what I will do if reelected.
And we need experienced, endorsed judges like Judge Close.
Well, when the people of Franklin County have an experienced judge on the bench, they've got someone they know they can depend on to impose the law fairly and equally to everyone.
Let's vote for Judge Young and Judge Close.
Promotional consideration for the Horror Hall of Fame provided by... Can you save the future? Of course, you're a Terminator in LJN's Terminator 2 Judgment Day for Super NES, NES, and Game Boy. No problemo. Tribe, the fun women's fragrance that goes beyond the cool and over the edge. Tribe, a fragrance uprising. Gravity Cologne for men. More than a fragrance, it's a force of nature. You couldn't resist it even if you tried. Stay tuned for more of the Horror Hall of Fame from Universal Studios Hollywood.
Ooh, my little buddy's sleeping like a baby. You won't mind if I take a bite of his crispity, crunchity peanut.
I told you, Homer. Nobody better lay a finger on my Butterfinger.
I used to think that having a chef salad for lunch was a great way to lose weight. Boy, was I wrong. Because in one mouth-watering Ultra Slim Fast shake, you'll find almost half the calories and 75% less fat. You'll also find more vitamins and minerals and fiber. In fact, it's hard to find another lunch this low in fat and calories with so many of the nutrients that doctors recommend. So an Ultra Slim Fast shake is more than just great tasting. It's a healthy way to lose weight.
Bart, I'm going to open my mouth and close my eyes.
Alrighty, guys, I'm back from our break. You are watching Tuned In live right now on twitch.tv/Arrow with a name and on YouTube. Arrow Entertainment. Trying to get our guest in here, Icy. She was joining us for the first half. Hopefully, she'll be back here in a second. All right, I'm back. Feel free to jump back in at any time. Okay, so the first hour, if you guys missed out, we were talking about beginning of horror movies, A little bit of history, comes with black culture and everything. So if you guys missed that, you'll be able to rewatch that on our YouTube channel once everything is processed and re-uploaded. Okay, so while we were waiting for Icy to come back, so we were talking about these streaming services, Netflix and all that. Netflix, I think they're beginning a new plan for family where you can actually share passwords. It's just going to be ad oriented, and I don't see what the big deal is. Like with Netflix, when it comes down to apps and programs like this, it's all about corporate greed. That's all it is. Everything's about corporate greed. And of course, that's going to come up again in our topic a little bit later when I'm talking about Woodstock 99. But going on to this topic here while we're waiting for Icy to come back. So while we're talking about digital movies, and like I said earlier, I found this article over a week ago, and it says, you don't really own the movies you buy. Take that to account. You don't really own the movies you buy digitally. Now, when you go to Walmart, and of course, movies now, they release pretty rapidly. They do. Like back in the day, growing up in the 90s and shit, you had to wait. Like even the 80s or 90s, if anybody remembers the days of beta tapes, VHS tapes, even DVDs, early DVDs. You got to remember back then, if a movie came out in theaters in January of that year, you would have to wait till about November or December of that year, or maybe January early next year, the following year, for the movie to come out on physical media. Because it took a long time. It would take a long time to process, a movie or any kind of content of that nature and get it out there in quantities. Like hundreds of thousands of people are going to be buying a movie. So you got to put out, like, let's say you got 1 billion people in the world, or let's say you got 1 billion people in the United States, and they all want a copy of Terminator 2. You know how long it's going to take you to make 1 billion copies of Terminator 2? Like, I understand back then you had VCR hookups and setups for VCR, for dubbing and recording movies. And of course, you got to put the FBI warnings on there, just letting you know, hey, don't try to copy this movie and sell it on the streets, or where you're going to get arrested. You're going to face 10 years in jail and a $500,000 fine or some shit like that if you're bootlegging movies, that kind of thing, So that was a big issue back in the day with that. And like I said, it would take a long time for people to get their movie from the cinema to VHS in their home, something that they can watch. But nowadays, it's easier for people to make movies and get them out there as soon as they can. Like even movies that, let's say day one, okay, Halloween Kills, when that came out last year, you could view it in movie theaters, or you can watch it at home with Peacock. Peacock has been getting a lot of attention lately with movies. Okay, on your way to work, how long you'll be alive? Probably for another hour. Okay, so Icy is on her way to work. She'll probably be listening live, or she'll join in once she gets there. So be careful, Icy, on your way to work out there, wherever you live at. Thank you for being here for the first half of the show. So anyway, with movies today, it's easy for you to make a movie and you can stream it live the same day it's in theater. So you can either go to a theater and have that theater experience and watching a movie, or you can sit at home, with your family, your friends, and you got a Peacock account. You got access. You got an account with Peacock or Hulu or Paramount Plus or whatever, and you can watch that movie right then and there. All you got to do is pay for a subscription. That's like with HBO Max. HBO Max, $10 a month. when Mortal Kombat came out last year. I think it was last year or 2 years ago. The new Mortal Kombat, when that came out, guess who was watching it that Friday evening? You know, so movies they have ways of distributing movies to you in certain ways. You know, it's like you don't have to worry about the hassle of going out to a movie theater to buy tickets. You know, well, back in the day, you had to go to movie theaters to buy tickets, right? Stand in them lines, you know, pay X amount of dollars for a movie ticket. You know, back in the 90s, we were paying like $5 a ticket, $7 a ticket. Now it's like $14 a ticket at your mainstream media. You know, it could be the best movie theater out there. You pay $14 a ticket, then you got, you know, okay, if you want popcorn, you want refreshments or whatever. Movie theaters now, get this. So we got this Cinemark Egyptian Theater near me. It's in Anne Arundel County. It's at the mall, Arundel Mills Mall. That's where Maryland Live Casino is. Now, these motherfuckers, you can either pay for your refreshments, you know, up front after you get your tickets and everything. You can get popcorn, you can get sodas, pizza, hot dogs. Like, this is like a fucking ballpark. You know, you're getting more than popcorn. Like, whatever happened to back in the day where you're just getting sodas and candy and popcorn, you're getting a whole fucking salad. You're getting a whole fucking dinner at a movie theater, you know? And you're paying out all this money for it, right? And you got to take it with you. You know, you bag it up and you take it with you or whatever. Or and this is what happened recently, because I took my stepdaughter to see Thor Love and Thunder. So we paid for the tickets, but we also pay for food delivery. It's kind of like, it's not like Uber or anything, but it's like, you know, you order certain things and you pay for somebody up front to bring it to the theater and drop it off wherever you're sitting at. So now it's like the movie theater experience is, okay, you can now buy your tickets online, you know, and all you got to do is walk in, they scan it, and they give you the stubs, and it's like, okay, enjoy. And then, of course, you don't even have to go up to the concession stands to buy your food, to buy your drinks. You can have these motherfuckers bring them to you while you're sitting in the theater. They give you a particular time that, okay, this will be dropped off. Like, okay, let's say you get there at 1:20 and the movie don't start till 1:30. Okay, we'll drop it off at 1:25, 1:27, something like that. And they're right there. They know exactly what seats to go to. They bring them right to you. You're good to go. Everything's already paid for. That is the movie theater experience today. People are fucking lazy. And I'm not saying it to be a jerk or anything, but people are lazy when it comes to the movie going experience. Like at home, you got a supply of drinks and food at your command, you know, in your refrigerator or whatever. You got you could pop your own bag of popcorn or something, you know, that kind of thing. So it's like, you used to go to a movie theater and you used to stand in line, you know, that was always the thing. You know, you could stand there with a group of people and talk about different movies and shit. And you're like, oh, does anybody know what this movie's about? Oh, yeah, I heard it was a good movie. You know, none of that. Because reviews are online. You can read about a movie online, how good it is, how bad it is, whatever, da-da-da-da, that kind of thing. And now it's like, you want to see a movie real bad, you know, you can read up on it, you buy tickets online, like, oh, I'm good, I got them all printed out and everything. Or maybe I can access it on my cell phone, I can pull up in my email, here we go, you know, I got my tickets, I'm ready to go. And you get there, you know, you show them your tickets, you go sit down. You have some poor soul who's working at the movie theater who's like, why did I get this job? I want to quit. Fuck this shit. I gotta take this motherfucker's food to him. God, it smells so good. I haven't eaten yet. I just started, you know, my shift. You know, I can't just sit down here and work the register. I can't clean up the floors in here. Now I gotta take some motherfucker's food to him. You know, it's a sad thing, I know. But that's the whole movie going experience, you know? Whereas compared to at home, okay, maybe I don't have to go to the movies to see the new Halloween. You know, it's going to be on Peacock the same night. I could sit here, pull up Peacock, pay for that monthly subscription to Peacock. You know, say, oh, we're watching Halloween for as long as we want. It's going to be free on Peacock for the next 20 days or so. And you can watch it for 20 days and get tired of it, you know, that kind of thing. And then what happens after it's viewed in theaters or it's viewed on HBO Max or wherever it's going to be viewed at, it's going to come to digital media. You're going to be able to buy it digitally within the next 2 to 3 months. And Blu-ray and DVD, it shows up a month later. So now they're getting movies out at a faster pace. You know, they figure, okay, now we got the technology to be able to distribute these movies and TV shows and etc. at a rapid rate, you know, and we'll put them out there in stores, you know, we'll put them on digital. But a lot of people buy digital because you get the movie earlier. You probably pay, well, some movies you do pay a little bit less. Some movies you do pay a little bit more, or you pay the same price as it is for a regular Blu-ray in stores. But you're still buying the movie and you feel like, oh, I own the movie, right? I own it. I bought it. You know, I can view it at any time. See, there's a difference between owning a movie physically and digitally. And this is something that I never really taken into account to, you know, earlier on, because I'm thinking, okay, I can buy movies digital. I don't have to worry about digging through my DVD collection to find a movie. Boom, it's there. I can just at the click of a button, you know. But with digital apps, you know, you do have the possibility of somebody hacking your account, getting a hold of your information, that kind of thing. You have the what is it? You know, you got to have internet access, of course. Internet access is required for digital media streaming. So if you don't have Wi-Fi, or maybe if your phone isn't really connected to the internet real well, that kind of thing, whatever, you're screwed. You're not going to be watching a movie. And then people with physical media who own Blu-rays and DVDs and VHS and betas and laser discs and all that, they can sit at home and laugh at you while they're putting their copy of Terminator 2 in their VCR, and they can watch it to their heart's extent, you know? I mean, of course, yeah, after the movie, you got to rewind it. I mean, yeah, DVDs and Blu-rays, you don't got to worry about doing that. You just click a button and you can start all over again. But there's just subtle differences between owning a movie physically and digitally. Like, for me, I haven't really bought a movie in months. Like I was telling Icy earlier, I have a streaming app on my phone where I can just watch whatever I want at any time I want. I ain't gonna worry about owning a movie. You know, it's free for me. I can view it for free, whatever. You know, so that's how I've been watching a lot of my movies lately. You know, but for me, I preferred digital over physical because I'm like, I don't really have the room for a lot of physical movies. You know, I don't have the shelving or anything like that. I prefer like, I'll just stick with digital, you know, like it's not taking up any room. I don't have to worry about buying any shelves and shit or having DVDs and Blu-rays laying around anywhere and shit. So it is what it is with that. But now with digital media, as I'm reading this article, over the last decade, there has been a huge shift in the way that people consume media content. Not too long ago, people would have their own DVD collections and were largely restricted to movies in those collections when it came to choosing what to watch. Now the world is a very different place, and the advent of high-speed internet has opened up lots of new alternatives for to those want to consume all types of entertainment. Before I go on, okay, so when it comes to movies in general, there are still hundreds upon hundreds of movies that have not seen the light of day on a DVD, Blu-ray. Some you can find digital, and what I mean by digital for those type of movies, you can pull them up on YouTube. Any older movies, and even if they're public domain, you can actually find those movies on YouTube and watch them in full. Movies I've never even heard about. A lot, like I said before, I'm a horror fan. There's a lot of there's a lot of different horror movies that came out in the 70s and the 80s that I've been, eyeing up. Even if it's just from watching a movie trailer, that's my kind of thing. So I'm sitting there, I'm looking for these movies, and I find them on YouTube. And of course, I have a downloader app where I can download movies, and I'm good to go. So, am I going to find these movies on Blu-ray? Am I going to find them on DVD? Fuck no. They're not going to put them out there. There's still so many movies out there that are lost in time and hard to find because of this shit. And they don't put a lot of these movies out there, well, I mean, I don't know the reason why. I mean, it would be nice to have a copy of a certain movie that I want to be able to view at my heart's, extent, I'm just checking something here real quick. All right. So there is a movie out there, and I've explained it several times on the show. It's a movie called Clown House. It was directed by Victor Salva, and I'm not going to get into the whole history of Victor Salva. You can go back and read his Wikipedia history on that, but that was a brilliant, underrated horror movie called Clown House. That was actor Sean Rockwell's first acting role, and it was good. This is like Halloween with clowns. That's basically what it was. It's Halloween with clowns. And the movie is in full on YouTube. You can watch it. That kind of movie right there, you're not going to see on Blu-ray, period. And for reasons, of course. It used to sell on DVD. You would have to go to a particular website to buy the movie on DVD, which I did many, many years ago, and I still own it. They discontinued it, of course, because of what happened with the actor, the youngest actor and the director. But hard to find movies like that, that are lost in time. You would have to search eBay. You would have to search the depths of the world to find these hard to find movies for your collection, stuff that you remember, but you can't find them. They're just gone in time, movies that, you're not going to find on physical media or digital media anymore. That's why I go to like places like YouTube where I can find that shit. So anyway, streaming services like Netflix, Disney Plus, Spotify, and even YouTube allow users to stream vast libraries of on-demand content instantly. This has altered the way that people think about ownership of what they watch, with many people preferring the convenience and instantaneous nature of streaming. For those of you who still want to buy films and not have to rely on a continuing subscription, many stores offer, yeah, that's true, stores do offer digital purchases too. So you can pre-order a movie physically or digitally. You could buy a code at a Walmart, pay for it, and you just enter it on whatever platform you're gonna watch it on. Unlike with the DVDs and VHS tapes of days gone by, you might not have the same ownership rights when it comes to digital media. It turns out you might not actually own any of the digital movies you buy online, and these are the main reasons why. So, if you have a PlayStation, if you have a PS4, PS5, Sony is removing titles from the PlayStation Store. This is one of the reasons why. The fact that people who buy digital movies might not actually own them was brought to the public's attention in July of 2022, which is when this article was put up. At the time, Sony revealed that it was pulling hundreds of movies from the PlayStation Store. The company had previously announced that it was ending movie and television purchases in the store due to users moving to streaming-based services. However, it was made clear at the time that any content that an individual had bought would still be available to download and play in the future. That's the same thing with video games, though. that was a noticeable thing with video games as well, where if a game got delisted from the store because of licensing issues, like maybe the license expired or whatever, as long as you bought the game, it was still yours. You could still download and play it. It's like that. But it is true. A lot of people are moving to streaming-based services. They figure $20 is too steep for one movie when a movie could come to Netflix, it could come to Paramount Plus. Yeah, I'll pay out $10 a month for Netflix. I'll pay out $10 a month for Peacock. I'll pay out $10 for Hulu. I'll pay out $10 for Disney Plus. Right there alone is $40 plus tax. $40 plus for 4 streaming services, and there's still a whole lot more. Would you really, and I mean really, want to pay out $60, $70 for streaming services and shit? Like, I fucking wouldn't. You know, if I'm paying out $10 a month just to watch one fucking movie, I'll buy the fucking movie. I'll buy it to own it. That's why I got an app on my phone. Like I say, I pay $3 a week. I get paid every week. I pay $3 a week to remove ads from this app, and I can watch anything I fucking want. Even some of those hard to find movies that you don't see on Netflix or Hulu or Peacock or whatever, you know? But at this time, Sony has revealed that it is pulling hundreds of movies from the PlayStation Store. I think I just read that. Oh, yeah, I did just read that. Okay. That policy seems to have changed, with Variety reporting that Sony will now remove movies and TV shows from users' accounts. All the removed content comes from Studio Canal and will affect PlayStation users in both Austria and Germany. In a statement, Sony blamed the issue on evolving licensing agreements with content providers, and confirmed that previously purchased Studio Canal content will be removed from your video library. In total, there are over 300 titles that are set to be lost, including the likes of Tinker Tinker Soldier Spy and Apocalypse Now and John Wick. Uh-oh! They're going to kill John Wick from the Sony stores. Oh, shit. It's about to be a fucking storm. So, that is fucked up, though. If you have hundreds of dollars invested in movies on PlayStation, movies that you bought that you like, oh, I own that movie. Yeah, come next month, they may be gone. I'm sorry to say, like, Sony lately, even though they're trying to get ahead of the game with the console wars with Xbox and shit, now they're getting ready to fall a little bit behind. They're like, oh, well, because of people streaming Netflix and people streaming Hulu and the evolving licensing agreement to content providers, yeah, you're not going to watch that movie anymore. You're going to have to rebuy it. So you mean to tell me that if I owned a PlayStation and I paid $20 for a copy of John Wick 3, I'm going to have to buy that fucking movie again because I bought it on your fucking platform, Sony? I bought the movie on your platform and I got to buy it again? Y'all a bunch of fucking crooks. That's some bullshit right there. Users are unable to download films that they purchase. Yes, that is a thing. When you buy digital content anywhere on any platform, even if it's one like Peacock or whatever, yeah, you're not going to be able to download this shit because you're streaming it. You're paying for a service where you're technically streaming it. It's not downloaded. It's coming through to you on your internet connection, even though you bought it or you think you bought a copy of the license for it, and you're like, oh yeah, I own it. Nah, you're streaming the movie basically. It's not offline. Yeah, it's still online. It's still on their server. You just bought it to own a copy of it, you know, just so you could be able to watch it. That's all that is. It is not unusual to see changing agreements or expired licenses leading to the removal of certain content from online stores. Although it is a relatively rare, the sheer amount of content available online makes it quite frequent occurrence makes it a quite frequent occurrence in the grand scheme of things. A high-profile example of this came in 2021 when Spotify removed hundreds of K-pop songs, with the company telling NME that this was due to licensing agreement with music distributors Keiko-M. That's another thing too, music streaming platforms like Spotify do that too. Like if they don't have the licensing to stream certain music, you're not going to find it on there. They're going to pull it off, because the artists, they do deserve a copy. They do deserve the royalties for their songs being played on there. So if you can't afford, let's say the Beatles, let's say you can't afford to pay for the whole library of the Beatles, you're not going to stream it anywhere. This is why Napster, LimeWire, Kazaa, BearShare, Kick-Ass Torrents was all a thing in the last 20 fucking years. And I tell you, I've taken advantage of every single last one of them. Yet the usual process for a title being delisted is that it will no longer be available to rent or purchase, but those who have already bought a copy can still access it. This has happened to all types of digital media, and it is common practice in various industries. For example, when Ubisoft revealed to Games Radar that it was removing certain games from Steam, the publisher announced that players with those games in their libraries will still be able to play them. When it comes to Sony's removal of Studio Canal content from the PlayStation Store, though, that is not the strategy being used. Instead, the company is purging the movies and TV shows entirely, revoking access to content that was legally purchased. In simple terms, users will no longer be able to download or stream this content that they could previously do. Apple reportedly did the same thing before. Yes, I read that Apple has done this too. Apple is full of greedy mongers. Steve Jobs, he may have did a good job with, forming Apple and shit like that. The iMacs, the PCs, the streaming services, the iPhones and the iPads. But Apple is up there with the money greed too. I'm not even going to read what their thing is, so fuck them. Digital platforms can revoke access to digitally purchased movies. This is one to pay attention to, ladies and gentlemen. Although few companies have ever removed access to content that has been purchased, almost all digital stores reserve the rights to do just that. The terms of use will generally include a clause that states customers are not purchasing a copy of a movie, but rather a license to view the content as I stated. Even though you're not able to download it as your own, you are streaming the movie. You're streaming a copy of the movie. You paid to stream this movie for X amount of time. That's all you did. It's technically not yours. You just paid to have it in place to where you can watch it infinite amount of times. That's all you paid for. Good example of these terms of use comes from Amazon for its Prime Video service. The fine print reveals that when a customer buys a digital copy of a movie or TV show on Amazon Prime Video, they are actually paying for on-demand viewing over an indefinite period of time, which is what I just explained. The contract also states that content may become unavailable due to potential content provider licensing restriction, and that Amazon will not be liable to you if purchased digital content becomes unavailable. Even though other services will have slightly different wording, they generally contain provisions that allow content providers to revoke access to purchases for a variety of reasons. Entire digital libraries could be wiped clean according to the terms of use. It is unclear if customers are even entitled to refunds. Oh, this is going to be a nice one to read. Get a load of this. Exactly what rights users have when it comes to this type of behavior is unclear. As noted by the Hollywood Reporter, these types of contracts are usually enforceable, even though if users don't read the terms of use by continuing to use online stores such as Prime Video or the PlayStation Store, users are signaling that they agree to the terms and conditions laid out and accept the fact that content can be removed. What makes matters even worse is that it is unclear whether customers are entitled to refunds. Amazon's terms of service, for example, confirm that Amazon is not liable for any content that becomes unavailable. This suggests that they would not have to offer any sort of financial compensation to anyone who could no longer access their movies or TV shows. Yet, in a similar situation in 2019, when Microsoft stopped selling books to the Microsoft Store, it refunded every purchase made, according to ZDNet, when content was removed from the libraries. Meanwhile, Sony has failed to mention refunds when it has announced the removal of hundreds of movies from the PlayStation Store and did not respond to Mashable when asked to comment. This means that users could potentially be out of hundreds of dollars while being unable to watch anything that they had bought. There's another good thing when it comes to when I see Microsoft was mentioned. So Microsoft has a thing, and I used it at least 3 times in my life. I actually used it recently. When you buy, let's say, a new game, and I bought a game about a month ago, cheap, and I was trying to play it, and I would start it up, and it would just constantly be on the connecting screen like it was trying to connect to the network. Game would not load up. I rebooted my console, soft and hard, both times. I've cleared the cache. I've uninstalled, reinstalled the game, same thing. There he is, Empire. What's going on, man? Talking about digital content, man. I'm gonna share this article in the Discord for you, so you can check that out. I'm not going to be on here too much longer talking about this because I got to move on to my Woodstock talking about my Woodstock thing. But yeah, I'm talking about digital media. So when it came to Xbox and I bought this game, I wasn't able to play it. So I contacted Microsoft and I said, hey, this game will not start up. I can't play this game. So they gave me a refund. You know, as long as you don't play a game for more than like 2 or 3 minutes or something like that, and or there's something that, you know, has happened with the game and you report it, you're good to go. But if you watch a digital movie for like, let's say you watched Halloween Kills 30 fucking times and PlayStation takes it off the store and you're like, I want a refund. Like, we're not guaranteed to that. Why not? You watched it about 30 times. I think you got your money's worth out of it. That was a good 3-part series. Yeah, we're definitely talking about that. If you want to hop in here in a little bit, I'm going to finish up on this article here. But yeah, Mike, I know you buy a lot of digital movies on PlayStation. Read that article because sometime this year they're losing Studio Canal from the PlayStation Store, so they're going to be removing over 300 movies and TV shows from the PlayStation Store. Now, even though it's not fully confirmed yet, they're saying it's supposed to be done in Germany and Austria. But if it comes to the States, if they start doing that, and they may be removing some movies from your library. So if I mean, they're saying that anything you purchase, it's yours, you can keep it. But if the way I'm reading this article is correct, and they say that, you know, well, you're not going to be able to keep those because I can't find that movie anymore. Yeah, they probably took it off. They probably delisted it like a lot of these games are getting delisted too. Customers might not actually own their DVDs. What is this about? This is part of the article too. Many people would consider DVDs and Blu-rays their own property, making them distinct from digital purchases. After all, it is a physical item that you can hold and even destroy if you want it. But it turns out you might not be what was this? It turns out that might not be how the DVD distributors see things, and that the situation concerning physical and digital media may be similar than what most people might actually initially have thought. The DVD Copy Control Association and the Advanced Access Content System Licensing Administrator sent a submission to the United States Copyright Office in an attempt to prove that you don't actually own DVDs. In a filing, the two organizations argue that customers are purchasing access to the motion picture, which affords only the right to access the work according to the format's particular specifications, rather than the motion picture itself. Although the language and reasoning are distinct, the argument here boils down to the same claims that consumers don't own movies and TV shows that they buy. Now, what that means, let's see. They did take a few episodes out of the Bible series on the digital copy because all 10 parts were there and they're selective. Yep, that's what they're doing. So, when it comes to buying a movie physically, like I said before, you're not buying to own the movie, of course. Nobody's going to own a copy of John Wick. Nobody's going to own the rights to Terminator 2. Nobody's going to own the rights to Free Willy, Any of those random... there's like so many movies out there, I can only pick out certain ones, at the top of my head. You're buying a copy of a license to view the movie. Yes, you own it on DVD. You bought it. But they're trying to say, you don't really own DVDs. You don't own the movie. And like, no, you bought a copy of the license for that movie. So I should be able to view it at any time. But what if? Now, this is a big what if. Now, a lot of Blu-ray players connect to internet. They have internet connection. A lot of Blu-ray discs, have some kind of connectivity to the World Wide Web. What if you put a Blu-ray copy of Thor Love and Thunder in your Blu-ray player 3 years down the road, and they decide, you can't view this movie anymore because the licensing has expired on this disc, so you can't view it anymore. Wouldn't that be some fucking bullshit? Wouldn't that be some fucking bullshit right there if they fucking did that? There is no way to control access to physical media. Of course, I'm not going to read all this. Both digital and physical releases are limited to private use unless you have a Blu-ray or a DVD burner and you're able to figure that out. You can't lend or sell digital purchases. Yeah, of course, but then again, look what Netflix is trying to do. You can't watch Netflix in a home of a family of 4 or 5 people. You all gotta sit around the fucking TV, one TV watching or picking what to watch. Access to digital titles is at the mercy of the servers. Yeah, that is true. There's not enough servers in the world to hold all that shit. Geographic restrictions can apply to digital content. Oh, this is great. You remember buying a DVD back in the day and it told you what region it was in? You could play this in region 1 or region 2 or region 3. That's when you were traveling out of state or traveling out of country. So it's very weird. And the same thing happens with video games. Video games in other countries too. Like, you can't buy an NES copy of Super Mario Brothers in Japan and play it over here in the US. It just doesn't work. It will not play on the consoles. Same thing with DVDs now. So if I buy a copy of Iron Man on DVD right now, and in America, and I travel to France or Germany or somewhere over there in Europe, or maybe if I travel to Japan and they got DVD players, it's not going to play because it's region coded. Region coding's always been a thing since the dawn of time for DVDs. So now they're planning on making it a digital thing, which is kind of stupid, I would say. The law has not really been tested in court, I'm pretty sure, because the law is very fucking fucked up nowadays, justice system. Services shutting down can cause problems for viewers. Now, this may be something to read up here. Even if Amazon and other digital stores never intended to remove your access to purchases, it may be a consequence that if they were to ever go out of business. That's because purchases are most often tied to a specific account for each retailer. If that company is simply no longer operating, then the consumer could lose access to everything they have bought. That's because the vast majority of digital content that users own is stored on the cloud rather than locally on the physical media, according to The Atlantic. Without servers running to the host that have the movies, viewers won't be able to watch them. Yeah, that is kind of fucked up right there anyway. It is getting more difficult to watch movies on your own. Yes, that is true. In the days of VHS and DVDs, it was always pretty easy to watch a movie. All you had to do was hook up a player to the television set and you were good to go. Basically, every system was compatible and there was very little that could go wrong in the process. This gave a real sense of ownership as you could take your content with you and watch it wherever you want it without the need of particular manufacturer's hardware. When it comes to the digital purchases, that's not the case. Something bought on iTunes or Amazon Prime Video will only work when you are logged into those specific accounts. Digital stores require users to have particular websites or apps and may only support a limited number of devices. That's another thing that's killing it right there. It's like, how many devices do you plan on watching Netflix or your movies on? Two. Okay, that's about it. But yeah, that does it for that article right there. Those are all the reasons as to why, where's it at? You don't really own the movies you buy digitally. So like I said before, if you are on PlayStation, I don't know if it's going to happen to Xbox. More likely it probably will. If you're on PlayStation and you start seeing your digital content, your digital library disappearing or dissipating, then you know why Sony is doing away with a lot of that shit due to licensing and possibility of everybody streaming Netflix, everybody streaming Hulu. It's all about money. It's corporate fucking greed, which is what I'm getting into the last topic of the show, guys. Going to Woodstock. Now, Mike, he's over there in the chat. I turned him on to this 3-part series that's on Netflix. Talking about Netflix. It just came out on Netflix. It's called Trainwreck, Woodstock 99. 3-part series. Each episode is like 40-some minutes long. Woodstock, oh God, let me give you a little bit brief history of Woodstock. Woodstock Music and Art Fair, commonly referred simply to as Woodstock, which was a music festival that was held, between August 15th to August 18th, 1969, up in Bethel, New York. New York is usually where they hold it. 40 miles southwest of the town of Woodstock. Oh, shit. Looks like I got to take a quick commercial break here, guys. I got something going on. In the meantime, watch a few commercials, and I will be right back.
Monday on A Current Affair.
Every New York cop faces the danger of getting shot. But these boys in blue never expected to get shot with a camcorder. Exclusively on A Current Affair, these on-duty officers got caught on videotape posing with 2 topless models. Now we'll expose not one, but all the cops involved in this arresting scandal. Cop Shock exclusive on the next A Current Affair.
A Current Affair, Monday at 5 on 6 on your side.
From one of the most celebrated filmmakers of our time comes the most unforgettable love story of all time.
Who are you?
Dracula. Gary Oldman, Winona Ryder, Anthony Hopkins, Keanu Reeves, in a Francis Ford Coppola film, Dracula.
I give you life eternal.
At theaters Friday the 13th of November.
Intermission, the show that asks, how much do you really know about the silver screen? Brought to you by Nestle Toll House Morsels. In over 150 films, Marion Michael Morrison from Iowa became the ultra-American hero. By what name is he better known? On our 10-point scale, this question has a difficulty rating of 5.
Marcia and Katie McGowan bake Nestle Toll House cookies.
Okay, Katie, you are old enough to learn about the good things in life. Nestle Toll House cookies. First, you must use Nestle Toll House morsels. Oh, I see you're already ahead of me there. Why Nestle Toll House morsels, you ask, Katie? Because they're so rich and creamy.
When you use rich, creamy morsels, you get the best tasting cookie.
Does my Katie like cookies rich and creamy? I think you do. You look like a rich and creamy kid.
Rich, creamy Nestle Toll House morsels. Make your house a Toll House.
No one was taller in the saddle than the legendary Duke himself, John Wayne.
We know doctors who are refusing to operate.
Surgery isn't necessary right now.
and hospitals that are sending people away.
Goodbye, Mr. Kendall.
Community Mutual's working with them to shorten hospital stays.
It's great to be going home so soon.
And reduce unnecessary operations. It's helping to keep the quality of health care up.
Thanks a lot.
And the cost down. There's strength in the community. Community Mutual.
I couldn't believe what I wasn't hearing until I got my new Belltone hearing aid. It makes voices clearer in a noisy room, and they're so small, no one notices them.
And I'm not constantly repeating what I say. It's so refreshing to be able to talk to him normally.
I wish I would have known how easy and kind of fun the hearing test was.
We guarantee that no other hearing aid will help you hear better than a Belltone. Call us today for a hearing evaluation. We're the only Belltone dispenser in Central Ohio.
You people got a story to tell. Everyday people.
What brought you to this place?
The plus side was more than I dreamed.
You people are all kinds of people. Unforgettable.
Are you there, caller? Hi.
You're a part of the story. You people are all kinds of people. Like you.
Donahue, weekdays at 4 on 6 on Your Side.
New fragrance for men. You couldn't resist it, even if you tried.
Our shipping docks are empty now, but this weekend they'll be packed with exciting furniture bargains during our dock sale clearance at the Sofa Express outlet. We've searched our warehouse racks for discontinued and overstocked items. Then we fill the docks with hundreds of items, all priced incredibly low to sell now. It's a warehouse direct, no-frills sell-off of quality furniture you don't want to miss. But it's this weekend only at the Sofa Express outlet, just south of Route 33 on Hamilton Road.
Sherry went to her minister, but instead of advice, she got sexual abuse.
He thought I was inhibited sexually, is what he told me.
Regina was devastated when her psychologist made sexual advances.
I was suicidal.
Is it a serious problem?
There's an awful lot of cases that have not come out.
Or is it their own fault?
You've got to advertise something to sell it.
Would you get off your high horse?
Women molested by men they trusted. Next, Sally.
Sally Jesse Raphael, Monday at 11 on 6 on Your Side.
This Thursday, a cop and his wife tell Inside Edition they certainly do not run a brothel.
I own a legal business.
I am innocent of any wrongdoing.
After our investigation, they'll probably wish they never heard of Inside Edition. Inside the Escort Connection, Thursday. And on the next Inside Edition...
His deadly crime inspired mothers against drunk driving. So why can't authorities keep him from driving again? Inside Edition investigates.
Inside Edition, Monday at 7 on 6 on Your Side.
Hugh DeMoss claims he's the watchdog of county government. But on January 2nd, when commissioners had to make the hard decisions to balance the budget...
Mr. DeMoss is absent?
Why was Watchdog DeMoss absent on the biggest vote? DeMoss went to Florida playing golf. Let's change this watchdog.
I'm Arlene Shoemaker. With your vote for commissioner, I'll be here for the important votes. Helping people will be my top priority, including more jobs and better health care.
Arlene Shoemaker for commissioner.
Do we have pictures?
Alrighty. I'm back. Took a little bit longer than expected. Something going on my end here. Let's see. Those people that all set it up. Set it all up definitely should have not cut corners. Yeah, that is true. Talking about Woodstock. So, getting back to what I was talking about. So, Woodstock was usually a 3-day period over a summer weekend. And it was billed as a Aquarian exposition. 3 days of peace and music. And alternatively referred to as the Woodstock Rock Festival. Attracted an audience of more than 400,000 people 32 acts performed outside despite sporadic rain. That was in 1969. The festival has become widely regarded as a pivotal moment in music history, as well as defining event of the counterculture generation. The events significant were reinforced by the 1970 documentary film, an accompanying soundtrack album, and a song written by Joni Mitchell that has become a major hit for both Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young and Matthews Southern Comfort. That song was Woodstock. I was listening to that earlier. Crosby, Stills, Young. It was Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young. I don't give two fucks about Neil Young, but Crosby, Stills and Nash. That's what I look at right there. Just history. Just history. But yeah, they got a song out there, Woodstock. Nice little song, it's catchy. I was listening to it earlier because I watched the documentary on it. So yeah, the dates for 69 Woodstock was originally August 15th to the 17th, which was scheduled, but the actual dates were August 15th to the 18th. It was 3 days of peace and music. Love and rock and roll, sex, drugs, and rock and roll, that kind of thing. That was the kind of shit that our parents and our grandparents went to back in 1969, remember? Where you could get high, do shrooms, smoke weed, whatever the fuck hallucinogens they had back then, You had 3 days of that shit. But it was peaceful. It was very peaceful. People were dressed up like fucking hippies and shit. We call them hippies nowadays, but you gotta figure, there was a lot of shit going on in 1969. Well, let alone in the 60s and the 70s. Look at the wars we had. Vietnam, Korean War, all that shit. We had the wars going on. We had the shit going on back here in the States. Violence. Shit going on with John F. Kennedy. The shit going on with Martin Luther King. All that stuff. All the violence. All the fucking hatred. Everything. So, Woodstock 69, as I was mentioning earlier with Icy, about movies being a reflection of our reality, that's basically what Woodstock 69 was. It was a reflection, but it was trying to be a good reflection. It was peace. It was harmony. It was art. People got along, it's like that song, come on, together now, it was get together, That's what it was, it was get together, it was, come on, gather around, get together, love one another, that kind of fucking thing, that's what it was. So, the planning and preparation of Woodstock, it was founded by 4 guys: Artie Cornfield, Michael Lang, John Roberts, and Joel Rosamond. Michael Lang, he's one of the main ones. He's actually in the documentary. That was the last time that he was actually seen on camera too. I want to believe, because he died short after that. I looked him up. The documentary, Mike, was actually filmed, I want to say, or put together back in December or January, because Michael Lang died in January. He died in January. And they were explaining the whole thing. He was, they were the great minds behind Woodstock. We got this idea for this big music festival. You spend hundreds of thousands of dollars for this, and I'm not going to go into the whole history of it and how it was set up. But Woodstock 69 was an incredible time. It was really good. Like, I'm looking at the performing artists here. So, on the 15th, oh God, I know Richie Havens. Is he still alive? Oh no, he died back in 2013. Yeah, I know Richie Havens. He was part of Woodstock. And then again, of course, so was Jimi Hendrix. So on Friday, August 15th into Saturday, you had performing artists Richie Havens, Swami, don't know he was an Indian yoga guru. I can't pronounce his last name, but his name was Swami. You had Sweetwater, Bert Somner, Tim Hardin, Ravi Shankar, Melanie Arlo Guthrie. I'm butchering some of these fucking names. Damn, I haven't even fucking heard of. The only person I heard of was Richard Havens. Richie Havens. That's the only guy I heard of. Keeps buffering. That's probably fucking Twitch. I don't have no issues on my end so far. Let me check. Oh, I hear you. You there?
Yeah, I keep hearing a lot.
Oh, you kept.
So.
Okay. So yeah, I'm just going over like the different artists in Woodstock '69.
I tell you, it wasn't no Limp Bizkit that started that whole shit.
Oh, we'll get into that. We'll get into that when I really start kicking into '99. But yeah, there was
so much shit up.
I know. But yeah, the different artists.
Now, in the beginning, did you go on 94? Because I didn't even know there was Woodstock 94.
I didn't either. But looking back on the artists of '69, they had a lot of good artists for back in the day. 1969, Santana, John Sebastian, Mountain, Grateful Dead, CCR, Janis Joplin.
Beatles, I think.
Nah, they weren't there. These were like the more hippie type bands. Like the more hippie folklore kind of bands. Like Sly and the Family Stone, The Who, Jefferson Airplane. And then on the final day, you had Joe Cocker, Blood, Sweat, and Tears, Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young, Sha Na Na, some other bands. And of course, Jimi Hendrix was the last one to perform. He performed for like, over two hours. Actually, you mentioned the Beatles. The Beatles were in talks of Woodstock, but under the conditions of the Plastic Ono Band would be able to play, yet their request was denied. Still, 4 songs of the Beatles were played during the festival by such artists like Richie Havens, Joe Cocker, and Crosby, Stills, and Nash. There was a lot of bands that that were declined or they missed connections, like Jeff Beck Group, the Byrds, Chicago, the Doors. I would have thought the Doors would have been perfect for something like Woodstock, but they canceled. Okay, they canceled at the last moment.
When I first heard the word Woodstock, I thought about Virginia. I didn't think there was New York.
Yeah, they held them up in Northern Europe. Yeah.
Yeah. I thought it was in Virginia.
I guess they got a lot more land up there in New York to hold all these kind of things. Man, there's so much.
Yeah, but so does Virginia.
Yeah, I see a lot of these names, and I'm like, this would have been perfect for fucking Woodstock. Bob Dylan, the Guess Who, Iron Butterfly, Tommy James and the Shondells, Zeppelin. Let's see, Zeppelin was asked to perform. Their manager said, I said no because at Woodstock, we have just been another band on the bill. Joni Mitchell, Moody Blues, The Rascals, Roy Rogers, Rolling Stones, Simon and Garfunkel, Zager and Evans. There was a lot of good bands that were. Damn, they turned down a lot of good bands, but I imagine they still had a good show over a 3-day period. And then, of course, like you were saying, in the documentary, they mentioned there was a Woodstock '94. Actually, there was more than that. So
there's a band line for that.
So here's Woodstock '79. This was something that they didn't mention in the documentary. This was a rock concert that's taking place in Madison Square Garden in '79. Let's see. They had Richie Havens, Taj Mahal, Country Joe and the Fish, Canned Heat. Appearing. It's just some random acts that I either heard of or I'm not too crazy about. But yeah, it looks like it was just a mini contained concert. Then there was Woodstock '89. This was the 20th anniversary. The Forgotten Woodstock. The rock concert took place in August of '89 on the site of the original Woodstock concert. So this was basically at the same place. It doesn't show any artists or anything. Let's see, although the owners, yeah, it doesn't look like there's a whole lot of history behind this one. I don't even really see too many names for Woodstock '89. Then there was the 25th, which was Woodstock '94. 2 more days of peace and music. Who was here? Because I don't think they had. Yeah, they did have it. It was like a 2-day weekend or a 3-day weekend. Okay, there we go. This, of course, was held in Saugerties, New York. 100 miles north of New York City. Okay. So we had, I don't even know some of these names. Jesus. It looks like some of the older bands, too. Oh, Candlebox is there. Collective Soul Live. King's X, Sheryl Crow, Blues Travelers. A lot of these are indie bands. Then, of course, you got Joe Cocker, which was on Saturday. Blind Melon. Cypress Hill, Rollins Band. Crosby, Stills and Nash. Nine Inch Nails. Metallica. Aerosmith. The Cranberries, the band, Salt and Pepper. All right, those are some of the hot acts around the time, especially Metallica too. Spin Doctors the next day, Red Hot Chili Peppers, Bob Dylan, Green Day, Paul Rogers, Santana. Yeah, that wasn't as big as a music festival. That one had an attendance of 350,000 people right there. But then we get to the almighty. The almighty. Now, I gotta ask you, what did you think about that documentary?
Honestly, it was actually really good. I watched all 3 parts because it wasn't that long. I was expecting several fucking parts of it.
Yeah.
Like, I think they could have put a little bit more effort in it that wasn't shown in the first 2 episodes, but the 3rd episode, kind of set it all at once because you tell by the way how they set it up was for disaster.
It was.
Like, there was no... I mean, first of all, up to midnight, who wants to go freaking right at 1 o'clock until the next following 6 o'clock in the fucking morning?
I don't even think anybody slept. I don't think anybody slept those 3 days, really. I think they were all fucking insomniacs.
Actually, some did, but I mean, the thing about that is I mean, it's an old abandoned Air Force base.
Yep.
So there's going to be issues.
Oh, it was.
Like water was bad and all that stuff. You have to have all that shit tested before you put a foot on the ground because you can get sued out the ass. Which I'm pretty sure you get sued. I mean, but the guy, you could just tell by the way, oh, I got a smile on my face all the time. Well, you're a dumbass. Yeah, because you're at fault for it. But here you are sitting in a luxury $1 million home.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. And fuck charges $4 for a damn bottle of water.
Like that dude, the guy who promoted the whole thing, he sat there throughout the whole documentary with this smugginess on his face, and just seeing the clips, the conference clips, during the event and after the event. They're trying to sit there. They're not really taking any blame or any part in what happened. They're just like, everything was good. It went as planned. We had a lot of attendance. The bands were great. This was great. We had little to no issues. Like, yeah, you're not down there on ground zero. It was something else.
They were understaffed on security. The security was like, what, 12 to 2, maybe?
Yeah, because... See, I
250,000 people. You'd have to have at least part of the National Guard.
Well, that's what they said.
Police.
That's what they said. 250,000, maybe at the stage, but they said they had an attendance of 400,000 plus people there, and that's a big base.
Yeah, you'd have to get at least half of the police force of New York just to. Yeah.
Exactly. Because you got to remember, they had 2 stages. They had 2 separate stages. So you had one side that, may have had 250,000 there, and the other side had a mellow, 150 or 200,000 people who were just there, enjoying the softer side of stuff. Because you had the soft stage and you had the hardcore stage, which is where everything they want to say fell apart. But if you guys don't know what we're talking about Woodstock. Right now on Netflix is a 3-part miniseries titled Trainwreck Woodstock 99, which is what we're going to talk about here. And it's a phenomenal series. There are some stuff in there that they haven't fully covered, but I myself, I know about Woodstock 99. I was 13 at the time when this shit went down, 13 or 14, and I know... very little of what bands played there, but I do know of what happened, but not everything. but when you watch the footage and you listen to everything that they explain in detail, how everything went down, it's like, holy fuck. Like, it was that good. Like, I was at work watching it, and I told you about it. I was like, yeah, I just got done watching. You should check it out. I guess you must have watched it that night.
And I watched it the whole daggone night.
Dude, it was so fucking good. Like, after I finished watching it, and I was telling you about it, I was telling my coworker about it, I started watching part 2 of it again. I was like, this is so good. I could watch this shit again, you know? It was that good of a movie, you know?
It's just amazing, though, how they let the crowds get that control. Like, you should have more... If you already know how big this thing was going to get, like, from 69 onward...
Mm-hmm.
I mean, look, 94 was a failure by itself, so what makes you think 5 years later, when the bottle doesn't crack, you stop shit and say, nope, this ain't gonna work?
Yeah.
That's number one sign. Even when you're on a ship or something, if the bottle does not break, you do not go on that ship.
Exactly. That was a sinking ship from
and
hell.
How many times I counted 5 times that bottle did not break.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because they said it was like a bad omen or something of like, because they were they were christening the base. They were christening the whole thing, and like, let's christen it. Let's break a bottle of wine, you know. And at first they had it wrapped up in a blanket, and that should have did something. But it's like, yeah, if it didn't break the first 5 times, like, yeah, this is a bad omen. Like, something bad's going to happen. Like, the guy who promoted it. Who the fuck was the guy who promoted it? I done forgot what his fucking name was. Well, Michael Lang, he was the guy that was he did all the Woodstocks. He was in charge of he was part of the group that was behind doing it.
He was everything on that.
Yeah, but there was the guy that was promoting it though. The one guy that was really smug about it. That thought, oh, everything's going, it's gonna go good. It's gonna go fine.
The bald-headed dude.
Yeah, I forgot what his fucking name was.
Yeah, he looked like somebody that was on TV a long time ago.
Yeah, I know.
What the hell he was talking about.
But there was a whole lot of things that went wrong with that, and before getting to the main before getting to like the bands and what everybody thinks was the real reason behind it, it's like, you got to think, you got a 3-day weekend, and it's one of the hottest weekends in August. August is the hottest month of the year, and you're in the middle of August when all this shit, like, when the fuck was the day? Oh no, actually it wasn't in August. I'm sorry. This was July 22nd through 25th. It was in July, but it was hot as fuck. You're out there in an abandoned airfield.
The humidity from the Atlantic.
Exactly. Like, you're on tarmac. You got heat beaming down on you. Like, they figured, okay, this was some cheap land to rent so they could put this festival onto. And you got to figure, you got 400,000 people down there on hot tarmac walking around. You know, you got the humidity, you got the heat. It didn't even rain those 3 days, I guess. Luckily, it wasn't raining. Then you had...
It rained one time, I thought.
It might have. I can't remember. You had a limited line of porta potties. Like, I don't even know how many fucking porta potties they had. But that's one of the things that started going down for them. It's like, there's not enough places to fucking shit. You don't have enough places to piss or shit. Like, even one of the gates had graffiti on it, and it was like, piss in the grass, you know, if you gotta piss in the grass. But the porta potties, they were all filled with shit. Like, how do you set up? And I don't even know if it was just in one area or they had it in several areas. How are you going to set up like 40 porta potties for 400,000 people? That is like inhumane. You're trying to load all this cattle into these 40 shit boxes. It's going to overfill. People shit. It's human nature. People drink, people eat, people shit, people piss. You know, like, you can't contain all that in a small amount. Just like the amount of trash. They did not think of having some kind of waste management crew out there to clean up the trash. Like, the whole field, the whole base was full of garbage. And even in the even in the series, this woman, she said she was down there on ground zero, like, trying to hand out trash bags, to see if, people in their area could clean up trash, because they're trying to keep the field clean, because people don't want to be, lounging around there, with trash hanging all over them. And she said, even one guy looked at me and said, I paid $150 to be here. You should pick up the trash, But, when you don't have enough, when you don't have enough trash cans, when you don't have the proper crew to come in there, like, they're already paying out loads and loads of money for the space that they have. They had to put up a barrier, a perimeter around there. It's a lot of money. You had to pay for the production crew. You had to pay to get bands out there to play. You had to pay for, the rental of porta potties. You had to pay for vendors. There's a lot of money in play. And they were playing, like one guy said, they thought at one point they were playing with an infinite amount of money. But they were very limited. They were cutting corners. The production crew, the what you call them, the guys that were, what the fuck, the promoters. I'm sorry, the promoters, the production crew, they were cutting all kind of corners to save money, so they're not spending a whole lot. It was so bad to where you can't hire a particular security crew to help out. They were literally going to random people and saying, hey, you want to take a job? We'll pay you $500 to be security. The one guy was like, because he was 18, he was fresh out of high school and shit. And he was like, yeah, sure, I'll do that. And he says somebody else, he told one of his friends, he was like, yeah, this shirt gets you backstage and shit like that, access and all that. He's like, how do I get one? He said, $400 and it's yours. And he gives the guy $400 and he gives him his shirt and shit. And then he's like, yeah, I could just pull another one out, I could just pull another shirt out of my bag, But it was really something else, like the security issue was just so bad, like you're randomly pulling people aside, like, okay, you want to be able to meet Kid Rock afterward, you want to be able to meet Metallica afterward, you want to be up front and up close to the band and shit, here, we'll give you a shirt, $500, you're good, you're security. But they don't want them to use excess force. Just like one of the promoters was like, we didn't want to have the influence of the government or law enforcement in there. They just wanted people to be free and express themselves and have fun and enjoy the moment. And it's like, yeah, it wasn't really like 1969 in there. It was a lot worse. And these 3 days really brought out the extreme human nature in these people. And it was disgusting. It was terrifying that people can act this way in certain climates, in certain conditions. It's amazing. And when you're watching this, like, even a lot of this footage can be found on YouTube. I found it on YouTube, a lot of this footage. It's amazing. And just, it's like, because like I said, you're dealing with extreme heat. You're dealing with vendors that are overcharging for drinks and food. And at the beginning, when everybody first came in, and this was in part 1, they were checking everybody's bags. Anybody who had bottles of water and shit, they were dumping it out on the ground right there. They weren't allowing people into the fucking grounds with their own bottles of water. That's like when you go to a movie theater and it's like, oh, you can't bring your own snacks in, but we want you to pay $5 for a box of Reese's Pieces. Like, nah, fuck you. I'll go hungry, or I'll just go home. Fuck you, that kind of thing. So it's like you come in on the hottest fucking weekend of the year, and it's going to be hot. You're going to be dehydrated. You need water. And these assholes at the gate are dumping your shit out. It's like, okay, you go, no, we're going to keep your water, but you go in and enjoy, you go ahead and enjoy. So that was one of the biggest issues right there. And then, you get to these vendors, and of course with the vendors, I forgot what they said it was, but the vendors, they had their freedom, their ability to charge wherever the fuck they wanted to. They were paid to be there. So they're like, okay, well, we're going to charge whatever we want. $4 for a bottle of water, $4 for a bottle of soda, $4 for a burrito or something like that. And of course, the price doubled, I think, when it got to the third day. You know, these motherfuckers were banking real fucking money. You know, they're charging outrageous prices. And I'm guessing that maybe they didn't get enough money out of the promoters and shit. So maybe they're like, okay, well, we're going to get our money somewhere. You know, it's a big music festival. You got 400,000 people here. Like, sure, we're going to get it. We're going to make a lot of fucking buck right now. But, you know, between the vendors not having what they needed to, you know, the way the whole thing was promoted, you know, it wasn't a safe place. You know, like on the outside, you got these promoters, you got all these bigwigs that are like, oh yeah, everything's going fine. We haven't heard any complaints. Everybody's having a joyous time, da 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 da. But then you see scenes of people, you know, trying to find shade from the sun. You know, they're trying to find water. You know, there was even I think there was a hose or something at one point that they cut or something. Like, you know, even some of the musicians were telling the security, like, give these guys water. They're dehydrated. They need a drink. Give them water. So there was just so much going on around that time. And the way the whole event was set up, the way everything was put on, the way everything, it's like even some of the production crews like, this shit's not going to end well. You know, they were just waiting for this big bomb to explode. That's all that was, you know. And you get, you know, you get the interviews from some of the production crew, and they were just sitting there explaining how bad it was. Like it was fucking terrible. And you know, with all these issues, and of course, you know, when you got a music festival like that or anything at all. Like when you're in like a mosh pit or you're enjoying yourself, people do get hurt. People do get trampled and shit. People do get cut up. Like even the one EMT that was being interviewed, he said at one point, like he was treating like 6 to 7 patients at one time and they ran out of supplies and shit. You know, they were treating people for broken arms, cuts, bruises, heat exhaustion, heat stroke, all kind of shit. They were running out of supplies. You know, the EMTs couldn't keep up with everything that was going on within the first 2 to 3 days, you know, that kind of thing. So, you know, with everything that, all those big things right there, and you got these promoters, you got this big guy along with Michael Lang, you know, who, you know, everything's going good, you know, they've got their fucking heads up their asses. They don't know what the hell's going on. You even got people down there on camera saying, fuck Woodstock, fuck this place, you know, and this reason why and that reason why, you know, like they want to charge $4 a bottle of water. It was fucking ridiculous. But let me read up a little bit on here on a Wikipedia for Woodstock 99. It was held in Rome, New York. And it's funny because in one of the episodes, somebody was talking about Rome fell in a day. That's like, you know, history right there. You know, Rome didn't fall in a day or something like that, you know, over in ancient Rome and shit like that. And it's ironic that it was held in Rome, New York. And like Rome fell in 3 days with this shit. After Woodstock 94, this was the second large-scale music festival that attempted to emulate the original 1969 Woodstock. Because that's what they wanted. It was 30 years later. They wanted to emulate that. They wanted, you know, peace and love because of everything that was going on around the time. You know, the Clinton scandal, all this extra bullshit going on, racism going on. You know, there's just so much shit going on at one time. You know, it's like we need some peace and love. And of course, one thing that they were trying I forgot what the word was for it, but at the time, the Columbine shooting had just happened. So the whole thing is like, we need peace and love, you know, it's all anti-gun, this and that, you know, that kind of thing. So it's like, yeah, because
I thought Timothy McVeigh was.
No, he was 94. That was the Oklahoma City bombings. No, Oklahoma City bombing was 94. Yeah.
94?
Yeah, Timothy McVeigh. Yeah, he, let's see. Oh, never mind. It was 95. I was a year off. Yeah, it was 95.
no, Waco was 94.
Yeah, the 95 was the Oklahoma City bombing. That's what it was. Yeah, that's when that was.
Okay.
But
And Waco was 94, right? Or was that during?
I can't remember. It was one of those times. There was so much going on around that time. Like even like I said, the Columbine shooting had just happened. They're promoting this as like, okay, let's put on this show. We don't need no love, no violence. We need love. We don't need no hate, no violence, none of that. Love and peace. Let's all get together and have fun and just be yourselves, that kind of thing. So they were trying to get the same, I guess, reaction or the same outcome that Woodstock 69 had. Like the previous festivals, it was held in upstate New York, Rome, New York. It was at the Griffiths Air Force Base, roughly 100 miles from the site of the original Woodstock. The attendance was approximately 400,000 over 4 days. MTV was down there too. You'll see hear about them in the documentary as well. They covered the festival extensively, and live coverage was available on pay-per-view. Westwood One.
Yeah, it was pay-per-view because of the nudity and all that stuff.
Yeah, I remember seeing that on pay-per-view at the time, like, flipping through, and pay-per-views like Woodstock 99 pay-per-view. I'm like, oh shit. That's one of the biggest things I remember about Woodstock. It's like, it was on pay-per-view. Can't afford to be there, watch the shit on pay-per-view. Raw and uncut.
Yeah, pay-per-view is $60.
Yes, it was. Oh God. Westwood One held its radio rates.
It has not changed this day.
Yeah. This festival, the 99 festival, was marred by difficult environmental conditions, corporate greed, violence, sexual assault, looting, vandalism, and fires. And it's all going back to corporate greed, as I was talking about earlier. It's all about corporate greed. It's all about trying to make that money.
I don't think it was all corporate greed. They did the same thing like Biden's doing to us now. Pretty much cut back, and you might as well just have a skeleton crew after all the cutbacks they did.
Pretty much. And that's all it was.
And we have more than about 500,000 people to 250,000 people to 500,000 people. Yeah, you're going to get fucked hard.
Oh, yeah.
There is no comeback unless you got live ammunition on standby.
Mm-hmm. Let's see. The festival was held
even pepper sprayed and a riot crew would have worked, but either way, still.
That would have probably created something even more. They probably would have taken that shit and been like, nah, we will pepper spray you all now.
Nah, I think pepper spray would have brought them to their knees. At least the pepper spray would have.
Yeah.
Without, live ammunition and having people killed and having a blood-out feud, pepper spray might have done a little bit of damage just to push them off and tell them to go.
Yeah, they just needed enough of it.
But then by two, people are already heading home, so.
Mm-hmm. Let's see yeah. Let's see. The promoters were determined to avoid the gate crashing that had occurred at previous festivals. They characterized the site as defensible, thinking a 12-foot plywood and steel fence would keep out those without tickets. Attendees all actually broke through the 100-foot section of the Peace Wall on Saturday night, not to get into the show, but to get out. Along the fence, about 500 New York State Police troopers were planned to be providing additional security against gate crashers. In addition to the two main stages, secondary venues were available. These included several alternate stages, a nighttime rave tent, and a film festival held at the former airplane hangar. Woodstock 99 was conceived and executed as a commercial venture with dozens of corporate sponsors and included the presence of vendor malls and modern accoutrements such as ATMs and email stations. Tickets for the event were priced at $150, equivalent with inflation to $240 in 2021 plus service charges. At the time, considered costly for a festival of this type. There were about 400,000 attendees. So, if I do the math here, you pay $150 per ticket, and you got 400,000 people attending. You're banking $60 million alone in ticket sales right there. $60 million. If that ain't fucking corporate greed. And it's like,
it definitely is.
and I'm like, I don't even know how much money they paid out to put this show on, especially with whatever, these artists were planning on banking, Rome, especially the downtown area and the commercial areas adjacent to the festival site, became a major draw for attendees who patronized its bars, restaurants, and stores and stayed at hotels and motels for the duration of the concert. The reception. The festival featured a diverse assortment of acts. Early reviews for many of these, which were positive. Critics particularly praised performances by George Clinton. I don't know what the name that is. James Brown, Limp Bizkit, ICP, Seven Dust, DMX, Sheryl Crow, Tragically Hip, and Rage Against the Machine. However, critical and public attention will quickly turn to the deteriorating environment and crowd behavior. Now, talking about the environment here real quick. Like I was saying, the oppressive heat. It reached over 100 degrees Fahrenheit, and it was difficult environmental conditions marked the festival from early on. Added to this was the fact that the site, a former airstrip, lacked too many shaded trees. There was no shade at all. The east and west stages were 2.3 miles apart, forcing festival goers to walk across hot concrete surfaces. There was not enough room on the grassy areas for campers to set up their tents, and some resorted to camping on asphalt. Participants were met with high prices once inside. Food and water sold by on-site vendors were expensive. As an alternative, festival goers faced a long trek or camped travel by via looping buses to Rome's modest shopping areas where stores had long lines and low stocks. People stood in long lines to access the free water fountains until frustration led a few to break the pipes to provide water to those in the middle of the line, creating many large mud pits. And of course, they did say, like, those mud pits, when they broke that line, it was water mixing with shit. So when you got porta potties, yeah, it was. When you got porta potties that are overflowing with shit, and you got a busted pipeline, yeah, you're not rolling around in mud. They were rolling around in shit. And they said people...
Yeah, some people had a lot of health problems because of that.
Yeah, some people were getting, like, cold sores and all kind of shit. I think one person said they got, like, hand, foot, and mouth disease or something like that from that. Like,
it was something pretty nasty, I remember.
It is.
It was a 15-year-old girl, too.
Yep.
At that time.
So, between that... And then, like I was saying earlier about the toilets, the number of toilets installed proved insufficient for the numbers of attendees. Within a short time, some facilities, notably the porta toilets and showers on site, were unusable and overflowing. Like, with all of that together, that's what killed Woodstock right there in the very beginning. Now... when it came to the music itself, like, let's start out with the first act, and they talk about the first act, which was James Brown, because the promoter, he did a dirty thing though. He paid all these big acts to be there, and even one of the production crew, the guy that. I call him the smart guy. He was real smart about it because, he was asking questions and shit, but he was kind of getting, like, shushed into the corner, like, oh, you don't know what you're talking about. We're doing it this, we're doing that way, da-da-da. So they were looking at the list of the bands that were playing, and he said he was, like, 22 at the time, and he's like, I'm in a room full of these adults that are wanting these acts because they're out right now, they're big, hot acts, and he was like, do you even know who these people are? Do you understand what you're actually promoting here? What you're actually inviting? It's like they didn't know, because acts like Korn and Metallica and Limp Bizkit and all them, they're like hot and new around that time. This is what the kids were listening to, and this is what
Metallica was out since the '80s. I mean, Metallica wasn't that brand new, but they were just starting.
But yeah, you got somebody like Limp Bizkit that is really hot on the scene along with Korn. So yeah, you're gonna get a crowd fucking riled up, a crowd that's fucking pissed off, and they resonate with this music. So that's that's kind of like a dangerous combination right there, because you got hundreds of thousands of people, and they're already pissed.
People that are fucking on drugs and shit too.
Yeah, ecstasy and weed and all kind of shit. Like they were fucking handing out ecstasy everywhere.
I'm pretty sure there was just more than just that was told. But I mean, let's be real. I mean, if they're getting away with it, there's more than just that going on.
Oh, definitely. I know. But
and this is about the time they were all busting down on cocaine and heroin and all that stuff. But nope, not in that area. You can go ahead and do it how you want.
Yeah. But with everything going on, actually, I'm gonna step away for a minute. I'm gonna let you take over. I gotta go handle something real quick, and I'll be back in a minute.
All right. But yeah, it was actually pretty good. But like I said, I didn't know there was a Woodstock '94 in there. I was like, oh, where the hell is this? And then back in '94, good music back then. But yeah, once that, I mean, I briefly remember '99, but it was because I remember hearing stuff about it on the news. But other than that, that's all the time I heard about that. And we're talking over, almost, let's see, about 30 years ago, or not 30 years ago, about 20 some maybe. But it was pretty brutal from the movie, man. I mean, if you haven't seen it, I suggest you go watch. It's pretty good. Good coverage and all that stuff too. But I mean, if you have choice, it's not something that you want to watch around children. I can tell you that much. But but just how crazy people got, and the last part of the last act, that was stupid of putting a hologram Jimi Hendrix on there. That was pretty stupid, knowing that wasn't going to work. Because I thought, I was like, oh shit, they're going to light off fireworks or some shit like that, but nope. I was like, God bless. Crazy, crazy shit. But, yeah, it was pretty wicked. I mean, I found it kind of, I mean, if I had to give it a rating, gave it about maybe 8.5.
Yeah, something like that.
8.5, 9 out of 10.
Yeah,
I mean,
I was definitely
a little bit of it.
Yeah, I was definitely infused by it, so I really did like it myself. But yeah, going back to how the concert started out, so they had all these acts planned out for the whole weekend, and one of the acts that the promoter really wanted there, but he didn't get around to paying, was James Brown. And he was set to be the first act that went out.
That was a throw off there. I mean, that was a throw off. But the thing about it, really, they fucked up on was handing out them candles.
Yeah, I'll be back.
That's where they fucked up at. All right, but yeah, that's where they definitely screwed up at, handing out them candles that caused all those fires. So you were like, oh, I was like, oh shoot. So. But like I said, it was pretty good. But the James Brown thing, yeah. I mean, if you ain't paying your people, they obviously ain't going to perform. So, I mean, at least he got paid to do it. So, which I was pretty much amazed. But other than that, it was a pretty good, decent movie. Or a documentary, correction. I mean, Not really. I mean, there's a lot of stuff in there. You have to see to understand a whole lot of it, in my opinion, on that.
Yeah.
Because if you don't watch it, you wouldn't understand what we're talking about.
So, I got something that just came up. I'm gonna have to end the show, guys. But yeah, next time I go live, we're gonna talk more about Woodstock '99 and what happened. I was trying to get it all in today, but I kind of ran out of time, and I got stuff happening around here. So, anything you want to say before we log out of here?
Well, I suggest you watch it, and then next time, when after you're done watching, you can join us on it. So.
Yeah, so guys, go ahead and check it out. Trainwreck, Woodstock '99. It's on Netflix right now. All right, so thank you guys for joining in today for today's show. Almost 3 hours long. We did have a guest today on the show, Icy. She was on the first hour of the show. So I want to thank Icy for being here. Yeah. So I want to thank Icy for being here today. I'm sure she wanted to join in, but for the second hour, but she had to go to work. So, but thank you anyway for coming in and joining me today. And to those of y'all listening out there, be sure to hit that follow, subscribe, and like button on twitch.tv/Arrow with a Name, and over on our YouTube channel, Arrow Entertainment. Also follow us on Facebook at Arrow WAN 2022. And we will catch you guys next time for the rest of the Woodstock talk. So y'all have a good one. We'll catch you on the flip.